Your Honor, case number 445 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Noguera. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Campbell, you and Mr. Noguera lived together for a period of time. You were both signatories on a lease.
At one moment in time.
Well, it was more than a moment.
Yes.
According to your complaint, he asked you to leave the apartment. You did leave. And you left after you paid that month's rent. So you want that portion of the rent back that you paid.
Correct.
And in addition, since Mr. Noguera asked you to leave, and you claim that he said he would take care of it, his cousin or somebody, your uncle, was going to move in, and did move in to the apartment, that you should be off the hook for the rest of the rent. Mr. Noguera left owing rent on the apartment. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
And according to you, the landlord is coming after you for the money.
Both of us, yes.
Let me see the notification from the landlord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When did you move in together?
About the middle of April of last year.
And when did you move out?
The beginning of June of last year.
Why did you move out?
We had broken up and I was forced to move out. I was kicked out.
What do you mean you broke up and you were forced to move out?
I had came home. He was very disgruntled with me, upset, and he kicked me out.
Well, what did he say?
He basically said that he didn't want me in his house and in his bed, which it was all partially mine too. And the next morning I grabbed my stuff as much as I could and left.
Is that right?
Yeah, but not exactly, Judge. That's not exactly the way everything went down.
Is it close?
It's close, yes.
So you told her you didn't want her around anymore?
No. It was a mutual thing. You know what I mean? We had been together for a while, and she had been going through some financial problems, and I had started to feel like I was raising her almost, like I was her dad. You know what I mean? I was teaching her a lot of things, and I felt like she was trying to...
I'm not interested.
Play house with me.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Did you ask her to leave?
I thought it would be a good idea if she left, and she agreed.
Don't play with me. Don't play with me. I'm just asking you. You didn't kick her out. You didn't punch her.
No, exactly.
I'm just asking you. Did you ask her to leave?
Yeah, I thought yes, I did.
And did you, in fact, tell her, Mr. Noguera, that your uncle was going to move in?
My uncle was planning to move in to help me with my share of the rent.
No, Mr. Noguera, that's stupid.
That's not
Let me explain. That's stupid.
I mean, we agreed upon her leaving. When the time that it's my responsibility...
Listen to me very carefully.
To pay for the rent.
Listen to me very carefully.
Okay,
before you say anything that's going to make you look stupid.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, because you don't appear to be a really stupid man.
Thank you. I'd appreciate it.
I said you don't appear to be a really stupid man, Mr. Noguera. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to prove me right.
Okay.
Two people rent an apartment together, and each one of them is paying half the rent. One person says, I don't think it's a good idea that we live together anymore. I think you should leave. And my uncle is going to be moving in. Would you think, sir, that a reasonable person would assume that the rent that your uncle pays would go towards your half of the rent?
Yes, a reasonable
yes.
person.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
You see how smart you're getting? Who are you?
I'm the uncle.
You get it, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
On his moving in, being that her name was still on the lease, isn't it her responsibility to still pay her rent?
I asked the question. Shut quiet.
Yes or no?
Mr. Noguera,
Okay,
listen to me carefully, sir.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Right.
Excuse me.
I ask the questions.
I'm sorry.
I don't answer the questions.
I apologize.
What I'm telling you, sir, is between the two of you and the landlord, you're still responsible, both of you, still responsible, individually and jointly. So we can come after both of you.
Right.
Right? But I assume that he is serious because he keeps sending you these nasty letters. Has anybody gotten served with a letter from an attorney?
I do have a actually money judgment and a notice to vacate that was canceled.
May I see it? And on what basis was it canceled, madam?
It was canceled because he moved out the day prior to it actually being served.
I see. So this was a dispossess. They just wanted him out because he hadn't been paying rent. Now, why hadn't you been paying rent, Mr. Noguera?
Well, after she left, the burden of the rent was so overwhelming for me I couldn't pay it anymore. You know what I mean? He had moved in to help me with the rent and help us out, but with my work, I'm in construction, so it started falling off a little bit, and I couldn't afford it anymore. So I didn't have anywhere to go, and I had to be there not paying rent. I realized that that's a big problem with my apartments and stuff, so I had to move, and I got my stuff together when I could, and I did leave at that time.
You want to say anything?
No, I don't.
That's a real good idea.
I think.
And who is this?
That's my wife.
And when did she move in?
She didn't move in.
When did she come to stay?
She didn't come to stay.
When did she sleep there?
Well, I don't know. Okay.
When did she sleep there?
She had never. Well, she came over and she would hang out with me, but she never moved in or brought her stuff over.
Mr. Noguera, you are an amoral person who thinks that you can get along with a glib tongue and a smile. I got news for you, sir. I am not impressed. I don't find you either attractive or adorable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Maybe you had bad upbringing. Maybe your parents didn't know how to raise you.
My parents are excellent parents.
Then they are disappointed in you. Because either you didn't learn the lessons or they didn't teach them to you. Which one is it?
And later today,
Dogs grabbed a hold of the chicken and was shaking it and chewing on it, and I screamed and yelled to get him to leave.
Then I got my shoes on and grabbed the gun and went outside.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Nina Campbell says her ex-boyfriend, Orlando Noguera, kicked her out of their shared apartment. Now she is liable for the lease.
I find what you're doing here today really reprehensible. You're trying to make excuses for conduct that you can't excuse. You did the wrong thing. You stiffed the landlord for no reason other than the fact you had your uncle living with you. Between the two of you, you looked as if you went out at 8 o'clock in the morning from 8 to 8, collected cans and turned them in. You could collect enough money. You look as if neither one of you has missed a meal in a very long time. You stiffed the landlord. You try to put the burden, I'm speaking, you try to put the burden on your former girlfriend of this, which is really your responsibility. It is your responsibility, and you come here with a glib attitude and think that I'm going to find you adorable. Well, quite frankly, sir, I don't. I think that if you came here and said, listen, I fell on hard times, I didn't have the money, I know it's the wrong thing to do, I didn't do the right thing, then I would say, okay, he's not a bum. But when you ask her to leave, and she doesn't want to live in this apartment with you anymore, you're not getting along, you asked her to leave. I'm speaking.
Okay.
She left. She did what you asked for. You moved somebody else in. You moved your uncle. Then for a period of time, your now wife was living with you.
She was never living with us.
Sir, I guarantee you that there were nights that she stayed over.
Well, because she stayed over doesn't mean she was living there.
You're doing it again. You're doing it again. Don't you get it? You treated it as your apartment, and you didn't pay rent. You stiffed the landlord, and you forced him to go to court and spend legal fees, spend money, in order to get you out of the apartment, because that's a scam. What do you do for a living?
I'm in construction. I do windows and doors.
You work for a company?
That's correct.
You get paid every week?
Definitely.
You like to get paid every week?
It's my favorite part.
Good. You're a smart aleck. But I'm going to tell you, you wouldn't like it if you worked for a week and your boss decided not to pay you. And if you worked for 2 weeks and your boss decided not to pay you, I guarantee you, you and your uncle over here would be on a picket line outside alleging lots of things. Well, that's the way your landlord makes money. Your landlord is in construction, and his construction is he has apartments that he rents to people who use his property, and he expects to get paid, just like you expect to get paid for your work. And when you don't do that, when you're just a wise guy, maybe you've had bad upbringing, maybe your parents didn't know how to raise you.
My parents are excellent parents.
I want to tell you something, sir. Then they are disappointed in you. Well, because either you didn't learn the lesson, or they didn't teach them to you. It could only be either one of two things. Either they didn't teach them to you, which makes them bad parents, or you didn't learn them. Which one is it? Could only be those two things, sir.
Okay.
Either you didn't learn them.
It's that I didn't learn.
Right. You didn't learn them. So what you have to do is you have to assume responsibility. And as soon as I see a lawsuit directed against either one of you for what is owed on this lease, I'm going to enter a judgment against you for the full amount. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's your responsibility. You can't grow up expecting somebody else to take care of you. Her, the landlord, your uncle, somebody else, your wife, whatever. You work?
Yes, I do.
Good. You better hold on to your job. You got my judgment?
Clear.
That's all.
All right, excuse. You may step out.
We moved into the place and it felt like she was playing house.
I think it was kind of funny because I was not home a lot because I was working a full-time job and going to school. I had 14-hour days. I had no time for home.
She stayed out all night till about 4 in the morning, wants to crawl into bed next to me. I'm not going to have that. No way.
That was the one moment in time. It was the night that we broke up that I came home late because I just needed to get out.
Very bad experience and a lesson learned.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Choris. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Catherine Davis is suing her neighbor, airline pilot Philip Choris, for the cost of a chicken and for pain and suffering. Catherine says Philip's dogs got into her yard and attacked her pet hen.
Miss Davis, I assume that you and the defendant are neighbors. Is that right?
Yes.
And you live in a rural community?
Yes.
Where is that?
In Gorham, Maine.
How large a property do you have?
About 7 acres.
And you keep chickens?
4 of them.
Any other animals?
A rabbit and a cat.
Mr. Soros, how large a property do you have, sir?
A little over 1 acre, Your Honor.
And you have dogs?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have a chocolate lab and a black lab.
Is your property fenced?
No, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, Miss Davis, Mr. Soros's 2 dogs somehow found their way onto your property and attacked one of your hens, leaving it practically dead.
Practically.
Very injured. And as a result of that, your father shot the hen to put it out of its misery, and you want Mr. Soros to compensate you not only for the hen, but also for the trauma because your daughter witnessed this attack on the hen. And Mr. Soros has 2 defenses. One, that his dogs didn't kill your hen, your father did. And the second is, that it was an accident because his dogs just got out when he opened the garage door. You have any other defenses that you want me to hear, Mr. Soros?
Yes, Your Honor. I question the nature of the attack, being that within 45 seconds to a minute following Miss Davis's screams, I was in her yard, and I witnessed the chicken entirely intact, unbloodied, making what I would consider normal chicken noises.
Okay.
Didn't take just 1 shot,
Here we
but
go.
2 shots to kill it, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Miss Davis, when did this happen?
Wednesday, October 20th, 2004.
Ever had any difficulty with each other before?
No, but his dogs have been in my yard before.
Did you ever discuss that with him?
No, I didn't know where they belonged.
So when you saw his dogs in the yard, what did you do?
Usually I just shoot them away, but this time they didn't want to leave.
Okay, tell me what you observed.
We were standing in a window, looking out the window at some deer, and all of a sudden 2 dogs come running in the yard, so I ran outside to scare them away. The dogs grabbed a hold of the chicken and was shaking it and chewing on it, and I screamed and yelled to get them to leave. Next thing I know, Mr. Soros is standing in the bushes wanting to know what was going on, and I asked him if those were his dogs several times, and he wouldn't admit that they were.
Can I see a photograph, please?
There's also one of my live ones. They look a little different.
Your Honor, I'd like to please note that the photograph is on the back deck, and that when I saw the chicken, it was alive and well, sitting atop an egg at the back of the yard.
No, actually the egg was on the side of it.
The chicken was sitting on an egg.
Just a second, don't argue with him. He's going to have a chance. He doesn't know that yet, but he's going to have a chance. Well, I'd like to hear from your father.
Okay.
Your last name is?
Trainer.
Mr. Triner, tell me what you observed on the 20th of October.
We were looking out the bedroom window watching a couple of deer that were in the backyard, and I noticed the dogs, and I told Kathy the dogs were out there. She got her shoes on and left to go outside, and I got my shoes on and grabbed the gun and went outside. And when we got out there, the dogs had pretty well tore the chicken up.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the chicken's neck was broke. The egg which the chicken had laid that day was out on the ground. And the chicken was suffering, so I shot it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to let you stay seated, okay? You think your grandpa and your mom told the story enough?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, now I'll hear you. How did your dogs get out?
Well, I let them out, Your Honor. I was in the backyard playing with my dogs and my son, and I went into the garage for a moment to get something off the workbench, and I heard screaming from the backyard, so I immediately ran towards the woods that separated my yard from Miss Davis's, at which time my two dogs came running from the woods, so I could assume that they had been in her yard. I grabbed them by the collar and put them in the fenced portion of my yard and scooped up my son and put him in the house. Then I immediately ran into Miss Davis's yard, and she was standing next to a chicken, and she was visibly upset and screaming. And I looked down at the chicken, and it was sitting with its wings folded, apparently in its nest, and making normal chicken sounds. And she was very upset. Her father came over with a high-powered air rifle and shot it in the back of the neck at point-blank range. The chicken was still alive after the first shot, so I question how injured it may have been. Secondly, he cocked the rifle again, shot it a second time.
Why do you think he did that? Do you think that he's some sort of a sadist, sir?
I don't think he's trained in veterinary medicine, and the decision to put an animal down is not one that anybody can make.
How much do your dogs weigh, sir?
Each about 75 pounds.
And how much did the hen weigh, do you think?
2 or 3 pounds.
And you think that if they just picked it up in their mouth and say that they weren't looking to hurt the hen, they were just looking to play with it?
Well, if
sending it back and forth.
If they did that, Your Honor, they're very courteous dogs because they set it right back down on the egg.
You are responsible. And what you have to say is, I assume that responsibility. Because this gentleman did not shoot this hen out of sport. He may have been mistaken when he believed that the hen was so seriously injured that it could not have recovered. And maybe he was wrong when he said that the hen's neck was broken. That's still your fault.
Your Honor.
That's still, listen to me, that's still your fault. But for your irresponsibility, it wouldn't have happened. So you better be careful with your dogs. Because if instead of the hen, the dogs went over and decided to play with her daughter and inadvertently bit her because she was flailing her arms because she was frightened, that wouldn't be her fault. That would be your dog's fault. That would be your fault.
My dogs have no history of such behavior, Your Honor. If they had,
you're a dumb man. You are really a dumb man. You're not getting my message. You are so fixed in your position that you're not getting my message. What do you do for a living?
I'm a pilot.
Well, maybe that's why you're fixed, because you have to follow instructions, and if you don't follow instructions and veer off course to the letter, you can cause a great deal of damage. You're also supposed to use common sense as a pilot. You're suing for $4,500. That's outrageous. But Mr. Soros has to get the message. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Krantz, this is your former husband, and according to your complaint, subsequent to your divorce, you made 2 loans to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Both were for court fines or tickets or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
And neither of those loans have been repaid.
No, ma'am.
The defendant says that you did, in fact, advance him the money in form of a loan, and he paid you back. And he says that the second chunk of money that you gave him to pay tickets or something so that he could get his license back was just a gift, and he is also prepared to establish that. So, when were you married and when were you divorced, Ms. Krantz?
We were married on October the 10th of 2003.
And when were you divorced?
The divorce papers are stated April the 27th of 2004.
And when was the first loan?
June the 21st of 2004. And I do have where he signed a note that he would pay me back the money.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. Also attached with that is the way that I proceeded to get the money. He was in jail at the time for not paying fines and restitutions.
Just a second.
Things
One
that he had
second.
stolen.
Shh. Okay, were you in jail in June of 2004?
Most definitely.
When did you get out of jail?
Like the beginning of July. She came and posted a bond for me. It was a $2,200 cash bond.
And you signed this that you owe her $23.33.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to that, you say you paid her back.
Yes, ma'am.
How come you called your former wife for the money? You were divorced?
We were planning on trying to work things out. We've been talking on the phone while I was in jail. I would have been there probably 4 years if I had not made that bond. She was pretty much the only person I knew that would help me.
Okay. So you were pretty desperate.
It was probably more than desperate. I mean, I wanted to be with her and wanted to, be a family again. But I mean, yeah, she was the only place.
What were you in jail for, sir?
I had stolen some things, and I had violated my probation for that by not paying my fines and court costs and all that.
Now, show me, Mr. Luberspeck, that you paid her back.
What I have is my check stubs that my bosses wrote me for that period of time, and I have my supervisor at the job that was there on 2 occasions. She came and personally got my check. You know, I signed it and she got it. And then when I went back to jail, she picked up my last paycheck, and he can testify that he was there and saw that.
Your Honor, I will state that when we were together, he would contribute to bills, but certainly never repaying any of the money that I had loaned him.
Did you ever go and get money from his supervisor?
There was one occasion where I picked up a paycheck. After he had went to jail in August, I picked up an $84 paycheck from his job. He
Only one paycheck?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the only time you went?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Nebojša Kovacevic.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
Were you his supervisor?
Yes, at that time.
Tell me what you know about these paychecks.
I know at 2 occasions that she came on Fridays and he signed the checks, the paychecks, and gave it to her. And the last, when he went to jail, the last paycheck, my brother gave it out to her because he called from jail and told me to give her the last check.
Now, what about the 2 other times that you say you saw him?
Yes, I saw him sign the paycheck and hand it to her.
Where were you living at the time, sir?
When I got the loan, I got out of jail, moved directly in with Ms. Krantz.
How long did you live with her?
It was not very long. You know.
Tell me how long. When did you get out of jail? You got out of jail
it was
in
a month at the longest.
July?
Yes, ma'am, and in August I was back in jail, so it was about 3 weeks.
I made the loan for him on June the 21st. I paid his fines and restitutions to get him out of jail. He could not get out of jail until they were paid.
He was
the very
not,
next
just
day,
a second, he was not living with you at the time?
No, ma'am, he was in jail.
Okay, so then he got out of jail.
And he was arrested for domestic assault the very next day.
On who?
On me.
How long did he live with you after that?
From the time that I made the loan to him to the time that he moved out of my home completely was, I say, about a month, maybe.
And how much money do you claim you gave her, sir, in your paychecks?
Ma'am, since I've known her...
No, I don't care since you know her. I'm talking about for that 1 month.
Every dime it says I made. Since I've known her, I've signed every paycheck I've ever made, and she has deposited in her account.
Listen to me. You're not following what I'm saying to you.
$2,308. And after I was arrested for domestic assault, my boss came and bonded me out, and I went and stayed with him.
Did he sign his checks over to you, and did they go into a joint account?
No, ma'am. I had my own personal private account. Thomas never was on my account. He was not able to be on my account.
No, that's not what I asked.
Okay. No, ma'am, he did not. No.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a stay-at-home mother. I have a special education child, and I stay at home.
Well, who supports your family?
I get a Social Security check for my son's disability, and I also get alimony from my first 13-year marriage.
Okay. Let me hear about the next loan that you allegedly made to him.
Mr. Luberspeck got out of jail December the 13th of 2004.
Was that for domestic violence?
It was for a probation violation because of the domestic violence.
Against her?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Mr. Luberspeck got out of jail on December the 13th, in which he called me, stated that he had nowhere to stay, nowhere to go. He wanted to come back home. I allowed that to happen. I know that he owed me money from before. I figured if I didn't let him come back home and help him...
Don't even say that. You said that in your complaint.
Well, it was...
I don't believe it. When he came back home, did he sleep with you in your bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it was...
Shut! That's not to give him a place to stay. Giving him a place to stay is that he has a pillow and you go sleep on the couch. Letting him come home and share your bed is a totally different thing, Miss Krantz. You know it and I know it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I was just in love, and I was
Well, then you
foolish.
have to say that, you know. I mean, that's clear. You were in love with him?
And I was foolish.
Well, then why are you bothering me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum.
And later today,
I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to be around any negative influences where I know that things are going on.
So why did you go?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Shelley Krantz says her ex-husband, Thomas Lupersbeck, owes for 2 loans to pay court fines and restitution. Shelley also says Thomas is an abuser.
Okay, you were foolish, you were in love, you gave him money.
I did.
Then you had a fight, and he probably knocked you around, and you had him incarcerated, and then he was violated again, and then as soon as he got out of jail, you let him come back again in December to your home where you have children, where children are supposed to be peaceful and live in a peaceful, quiet environment.
At that time, my daughter was not with me. She had chose to live with her father because of the things that had happened between Mr. Lupersbeck and I.
Is she back now?
No, we are just now establishing our relationship together.
Well, that's what happens. It's what happens when you fall in love with a bum. Fall in love with a bum, you can lose your whole family.
I realize that.
That would be you.
No, it wouldn't.
You may have a seat, sir. Yeah,
Sure.
that would be you.
Ma'am, I've worked every day since I've met this lady, and I was sleeping in my car before we were married and giving her my paycheck. I don't consider that being a bum so that her and her family can eat.
Just a second, sir. How did she get involved with the arrest that brought you 2 probation violations? Who'd you steal from her?
No, sir, ma'am, it was an employer that was refusing to pay me.
You mean an employer that was refusing to pay you? A judge wouldn't listen to you when you were trying to get your money from that employer? Look at you, Mr. Luperchik. You can't even keep a straight face.
I didn't even try to go through a court. I just took what I felt he owed me.
Did that ever happen before, Mr. Lupersbeck?
No, ma'am.
Never were arrested before?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't have anything to do with that, did she?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So how many times in total, I want you to think. How old are you?
26.
26. So you haven't had that long a life. How many times have you been arrested? Let's say more than 5?
15.
15. So you've been arrested 15 times. And how many times was she involved?
Twice.
Twice out of 50. So 13 times she was not. That makes you a bum.
Sure.
Just because you try to pay your own way and pay a little rent money doesn't make you not a bum. Somebody who's 26 years old has been arrested 15 times is a bum. That's what my grandmother would say.
She's entitled to her opinion.
It's my opinion's the only one who counts here.
Your Honor,
Listen to me, Ms. Krantz. Give me the second loan. He came out of jail in December of 2004. You took him back home. I assume it was at that point your daughter went to your ex-husband or before?
no, ma'am, that was in June.
In June of 2004?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so she had enough of him 6 months before.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's fast forward to December 2004. Go ahead.
He came home. He was placed on intensive state probation. Part of his probation was that he was to get his license back and retain a job. So he asked if I would help him get his license reinstated. He promised me several times that if I paid this for him, that he would pay me back. He informed me that there were 2 tickets that he had to get paid.
All right, so you gave him how much, $800?
It was over $800.
All right, and then what happened after the 15?
Shortly thereafter, we began to argue. Thomas still had a problem finding a job.
And?
We began to argue because he wouldn't get a job and he wouldn't pay me back the money that he owed me. Is
that what you were arguing about?
We were arguing because that's what we do. I guess that was one of the topics of conversation, sure.
Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I went and sat in the living room on the chair, and when the argument continued, I left.
What was she saying to you?
After about the first 10 minutes, I don't even know. I wasn't listening.
Is it possible she was saying to you, you have to get a job because you have to pay me back the money you owe me?
She did say that, and that's something that we already knew, but it was wintertime. I frame houses for a living, and framing jobs aren't so easy to find in the wintertime.
Well, this makes my life much easier, because you see what you just said, Mr. Lupersbeck? You said that's what we were arguing about, you know, about the money that I owed her. But, you know, it's not so easy in the wintertime to get a job framing, and that's what I do for a living. So you know what that is, Mr. Lupersbeck?
What is it?
That is an acknowledgement that you owe her money.
Your Honor.
Shut up!
Sorry.
That's what it is. You must have been before a lot of dumb judges in your time, sir.
Not that I know of.
Somebody who's been arrested and probably convicted more than half a dozen times, as far as I'm concerned, should probably be in jail forever. Listen to me carefully, sir. Did you give him a W-2 for his taxes?
Your Honor, it's a different form.
It's a different...
1099.
Okay, so you gave him a 1099.
Yes, he's got that.
You have a short time to fill out your taxes, sir.
Correct, ma'am. April 15th.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,195, which is the amount requested. I don't believe, Mr. Luberspeck, that you paid back this loan. Your final statement to me indicates that the last argument that you had with the plaintiff was over this loan. You decided to tune her out on the 15th of December. I tune you out now. Thank you very much. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We can't communicate because both of us are hard-headed and didn't want to listen to the other one.
I'm just very hurt that I gave the defendant so many chances and tried to help him so much, and he still denied the fact that he owed me the money.
I love her very much.
I care about him, but I think I'm going to make smarter decisions from now on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLeish versus Kramer, step forward.
21-year-old department store manager Ashley McLeish is suing her former friend, retail salesperson Angela Kramer, for her share of a trip to Las Vegas. Angela claims Ashley and her witness coerced her into going.
How old are you, Miss McLeish?
21.
Miss Kramer?
21.
You used to be really good friends, and you claim that Miss Kramer owes you for her share of a trip that the two of you took to Las Vegas.
Correct.
And Miss Kramer says she had a lousy time, right?
Yeah.
And in addition to having a lousy time, she never agreed to pay you back.
That is incorrect.
Miss Kramer, what do you do for a living?
I'm a student in a retail sales.
Where do you work?
I work at Mervyn's.
You live by yourself?
No.
Who do you live with?
I live with my father.
In his house?
Yes.
Miss McLeish, what about you? You're a student?
Yeah, I go to Golden West College, and I'm a retail manager at Mervyn's, and I live with my parents.
Okay, good. Now, you went on vacation?
Yes.
For how long?
3 days.
You were going there for what reason?
Because it was our 21st birthday, so me, her, and my witness wanted to have a good time, and on our 21st birthday, Vegas is like the place to be.
Good. So, you asked her to go with you?
Yes.
She said?
Yes.
And?
So I looked online for prices for hotel and airfare because we wanted to fly there. And after...
Did Miss Kramer say that you should put these charges on your credit card?
I agreed to put it on my credit card, and the agreement was that she would pay me back before we left on August 1st.
Your Honor, that's not...
Just a second. She didn't pay you back?
No, she hadn't paid me back.
What did she tell you about paying you back?
She said she'll get back to me. So I figured it was like she'd pay me back when we got back because we were having a great time. We both had fun. We went out to dinner, we went dancing, we went to clubs, we went got VIP everything. We didn't have to pay for anything. And all she did was...
Why not?
Why not? Because the month before we had made a connection. Our friend knows a lot of like security guards, and he knows a lot of bouncers, so we got to get in free. We didn't have to wait in like 2-hour lines to get in the best clubs.
Okay. According to you, you had a good time.
Right.
Came back, she didn't pay.
Right.
Go.
I never agreed to pay. When she said that the hotel, the price of it, I said that's way too high and I'd rather just stay at my family's house because I can stay there for free.
So why didn't you?
Because when I told them that, they said, just don't worry about it.
And somebody dragged you on the plane?
Well, you know, it's my 21st birthday. I was trying to distance myself anyways, and that's why...
I'm asking you, somebody dragged you on the plane?
No.
Well, if you didn't want to go, why did you go?
Because they said, just don't worry about the costs.
Well, why would you think that they would take you away on vacation?
Because that's what they said.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
I actually have pictures, if I could show you, of her having a good time dancing.
I don't care whether she had a good time or whether she had a lousy time. It's irrelevant to me.
Your Honor, I was trying to get out of the vacation because I didn't want to go with them. And when they said, just come on, please go, I decided, fine, I'll go. Because they said, don't worry about any of the costs, don't worry about anything,
Your Honor,
just
may I
go.
say something,
Yeah,
please?
step up. Tell me your name.
My name is Lori Irigoyen, and we spoke to her the night before we left, and she said, yeah, she couldn't afford it, but then we said, okay, we've still put it on a credit card, you need to pay us back, or you need to pay Ashley back. She didn't want to do that. Well, you can't
Well, what did she say?
She said, no, I don't have to pay you back. If I don't go, I shouldn't have to pay you back.
Exactly.
Why did you call the night before?
Because I had talked to them recently before that also, because what I was doing was I was talking to my backgrounds investigator, and when I was going through looking at the lie detector test and polygraph...
I have no idea what you're talking about now. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
What it is I'm going for a future career in the criminal justice, and so I was talking to a backgrounds investigator, and she was showing me the polygraph test. that you would have to be taking, and it had to ask questions about your friends and what you know about your friends, and that can make you fail and make it so you can't get into a premier area.
So
I had
please.
I had decided that I didn't want to be around any negative influences where I know that things are going on.
So why did you go?
Because I made a mistake. I thought...
Good. Yeah, that's what you say. You say, I made a mistake. And when you make a mistake, what do? Pay! Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $296.45.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And then the matter of Aristizabal versus Morales. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, ma'am, please.
Mr. Aristizabal, what kind of a business do you have, sir?
Do an auto repair business, ma'am.
According to your complaint, Mr. Morales came into your shop to have his car fixed. You did a diagnostic workup on his car, told him he needed transmission to be done.
Yes.
He decided at some point that he didn't want you to do the work on his car, and he went to leave. You told him he couldn't leave until he paid you for the diagnostic work, which was $85.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, at some point, and you're going to tell me how this happened, he tried to leave. You tried to stop him. Tried to stop him by having one of your employees close a gate. He plowed through, damaged your property and a sign. You want him to pay for all that damage. Mr. Morales says that you had no right to try to restrain him.
Correct.
That you did no work on the car, that when your gate closed on his car, you caused damage to his car, and he is counterclaiming.
Correct.
What day did Mr. Morales come into your shop?
On 11/16, Mr. Morales came. I do have an exhibit.
What time did he come, sir?
4 o'clock, 4:30.
And what time does your shop close, sir?
6 o'clock, Your Honor.
Did Mr. Morales have an appointment, or did he come in
No, he walked
without
in.
an appointment?
He walked into my shop by a friend. He was recommended by a friend of his.
Had he had work done by Mr. Aristizabal himself?
No, Your Honor.
So why did he make this recommendation to you?
He said to me that this was his uncle's shop and that he'd give me a good price, an estimated price on rebuilding my transmission for that.
Is that what you needed, a rebuilt transmission?
Yes, Your Honor.
How did you know that you needed a rebuilt transmission, Mr. Morales?
I had went the day before to another mechanic shop, and I have the receipt here. It shows that I paid for diagnostics, and it states there that my transmission needed to be rebuilt.
Now, when you came into Mr. Aristibal's shop, sir, did you tell him you needed to rebuild the transmission?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. Well, actually, when I first got there, he wasn't there. He showed up about 45 minutes later.
So at that point, it was between 4:45 and 5:30.
Yeah, about 5:30, when I finally got in contact with him around that time. He showed up. He asked me...
Who's Giovanni?
He was Giovanni at the time. He stated his name was Giovanni. He asked me what was the problem with the car. I stated my transmission needed to be rebuilt. He asked me, how do I know? I told him because I had another diagnostics done. So he then got in the car and test drove the vehicle.
How did he test drive the vehicle, sir?
He drove it up to the garage door, and then he also reversed it back. He opened the hood. He looked in it. The vehicle was on the whole time, and then that was basically all he did. He asked me follow me into my office. He asked me for my information.
May I see the piece of paper that you have, sir? Is that the information that you filled out when you came in?
Yes, this is exactly information exactly as to what happened.
Okay. Is this the piece of paper that you filled out while Mr. Morales was sitting in your office?
There is 4 copies, Your Honor, just to refresh you. There is 4 copies at the beginning of the estimate. That was the final estimate, what it says, everything that I found with the vehicle, everything that said. He also asked me
You're not answering my question, sir.
That's the piece of paper that he filled up, yes, Your Honor. And he got an estimate of that.
No. Mr. Morales did not sign this document that you have handed to me.
Yes, he did.
No. He did not sign this as it is written here. You filled this out after he left. So I want to see what he signed when he was there, not after you wrote everything that you wanted to write on this document about what happened later.
I gave him a copy where it says computer diagnosis, ABS not working, to check and advice. $85 on the top of it, as you can see. The final invoice,
This invoice is meaningless to me, sir. So then let's get over this, because we're not going to waste any more time. We're not going to waste any more time.
Fine, Your Honor.
Tell me what you did with the car, Mr. Aristobal.
When it came off for the car, I did the diagnosis. I put it what is called a modest.
Tell me what you did.
I did the diagnostic.
Listen to me.
Would you please let me describe, Your Honor?
No, I want you to answer my question, Mr. Aristobal.
I finally invoiced it. I told him exactly what it was wrong at 5:30. He said he was going to take it somewhere else to have it repaired somewhere else. He wasn't going to do it then. I asked him he must repair. He must pay me for the diagnosis that I had done.
I didn't hear anybody doing a diagnostic, sir. Just because you wrote diagnosis doesn't mean you did anything. Now, you want to tell me exactly what you did or produce an employee who performed any work on the car.
It says right there on the invoice, Your Honor.
Mr. Aristobal, that's what the whole dispute is about. Mr. Morales says you didn't do any work on his car.
So he signed an invoice saying to have the car diagnosed.
This invoice, sir, is worthless. You wrote this invoice after the whole incident happened.
Did you see that I did it after, Your Honor?
Sir, you can't produce something.
I am producing. That's the honestly true, Your Honor.
Mr. Aristobal.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We started arguing. He was, being loud. I got loud also.
He was a little bit high on drugs, I will imagine, because he was very.
This man was not high on drugs.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mechanic Orlando Aristizabal says customer James Morales owes for skipping out on a bill. James says Orlando didn't perform any work on his car.
Who is this person?
That is a customer that happened to be there when he damaged his car, and he's here to testify. He damaged the car with the...
So this is a witness that you brought. Did you bring a witness who did any work on Mr. Morales' car?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, did anybody else take your car away from you and put it up on a lift or a machine?
No, Your Honor.
When you told him that you weren't going to do the job, what happened?
Well, what happened was, from after he drove the vehicle, we got off the car, we went into his office. He asked me for my information. I signed the form. He said that he was going to call me the next day to let me know exactly how much it was going to cost, that it was mandatory for his company to do a diagnostics. So after all, I agreed with it. I said, fine, fine. I agreed with it. I left the premises.
What made you change your mind, sir?
Overall, the car is in my name. It's my car. But that's my wife's vehicle. I have a 99 Tahoe, my truck, which I drive to work and back. She uses the Infiniti to go to work and do her errands. The car that was getting fixed was coming out of her money. She said no. She decided not to. She told me, well, we're wasting our money if we're throwing our money out the window to get another diagnostics done if we just got one done yesterday. So from there...
So you went back inside to get your car.
Right. When I went back to the premises, we pulled into the vehicle. She pulled in where the gate line is, right on the premises line, where the gate would close, and she stopped. I got off the vehicle, I walked up to the garage, I seen my vehicle still in the same place, the key still in the ignition, the hood was still open, the door was open, and I looked for Mr. Giovanni, which he told me his name was at the time. I went into the office, I did not see him. I came out of the office, he came out of the back, he appeared out of the back. I then told him, we're not gonna leave the car with you after all, I'm gonna go ahead and take my car. He told me, well, you can go ahead and take the car, but you have to pay me my diagnostics, my $85 for the work that was done. I told him what work. I told him there was no wires connected to my car. I see no computer next to my car. I see no mechanic next to my car. I see no tools. The car was not on a hoist. It was not moved. So therefore, I felt that there was no work rendered to my vehicle, and I told him that I was not going to pay him.
Did you see his car on a lift, sir?
No.
Did you see any wires attached to his car being diagnosed?
Well, I was only there for like 5 minutes.
The answer is no.
No.
Go ahead.
So from that point, I told him I told him that I wasn't gonna pay him. We started arguing. He was being loud. I got loud also, and from there I had my wife and my daughter in my truck waiting for me. I didn't want to argue with him, so I gave him the paper back. I shook his hand and I told him, look, Mr. Giovanni, if you feel I owe you, you have all my information.
Sue me.
You call me, you sue me, you do whatever you have to do. I'm taking my car.
Does that sound familiar, Mr. Aristobal?
I saw him after he came back. He wanted to leave. I told him he must pay for the diagnosis, which had been authorized.
And he said, I'm not paying for it.
He said he's not paying for it. I can call the police. He was a little bit high on drugs, I will imagine, because he was very,
This man was not high on drugs. This man was not high on drugs. Listen to me, sir. Mr. Aristobal, put the pictures down, sir. How did you stop him? Because according to your complaint, you said you tried to stop him. How did you try to stop him, sir?
I don't need to stop him. I did not. So help me God, Your Honor. I did not stop him. He left, taking my gate out of it and my dumpster, here in the dumpster, and here is the pictures of it.
Step up. You were a customer?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been a customer there?
For like 1 year.
You saw this incident happen?
Yeah, I only saw when he left.
Did one of Mr. Aristobal's employees close the gate?
No, ma'am.
Was it closed?
No, it was open. It was open like a car's distance.
And so describe to me what happened, sir.
Well, the young man got in his car and he just, like, bailed out fast, like he was stealing the car. He was, like, scared for some reason. He just left real fast and he hit the dumpster and the gate.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. From that time, when I paid him, I told him I wasn't going to pay the $85, I gave him the receipt back, because when I left, he gave me a receipt. And I told him, I'm not going to pay you. I was already backing up. He then asked me, look, at least pay me $45 for my labor fee. I then replied to him, I'm not going to pay you anything. I continued to back up. He started yelling at his. There was about maybe 10 employees there. And if I may say, Your Honor, he was also an employee here. The witness is also an employee. If you notice his hands, they are greasy. I mean,
you work for him?
He is an employee.
Part-time work for him?
I don't work for him. I paint cars. He has a mechanic shop.
What were you doing there that day, sir?
He was fixing one of my cars.
Fixing one of your personal cars or your business cars?
No, one of my cars.
Your
that I'm
Honor,
going to sell. Yeah, I try to get cars fixed so I can sell them.
Sit down. Go ahead.
From there, he yelled at his employees, don't let him leave, don't let him leave. I'm calling the police, don't let him leave. Well, my wife was still parked in the same place, if I can point out. She was parked here, right on the gate where the gate closes. And one of the employees started closing the gate on her vehicle. My daughter was in the car on the passenger side, behind the passenger back seat, and where the gate was closing onto. My wife then exits the vehicle and asks Giovanni, what's going on? What's going on? Giovanni replies, he's trying to steal my money. He needs to pay me. You guys need to pay me my money. She got in the vehicle. She backed up. She got onto the street. I then continued to back up. When they closed the gate on me, when it hit my vehicle, if you can see, if I can present some pictures to you. If you notice where the red arrow is, that's where I came to a complete stop at the dent that it made.
I want to see all the pictures, Bird. There's Mr. Aristobal's also, please.
This is the customer's car.
So what's this?
The car was scraped from the front all the way, from the back all the way to the front from the yellow fence. If you can notice the yellow paint on the fence.
If you look, Your Honor, on the tire on the driver's side, on the first tire, you would see that the trash can was actually pushed onto
the car.
On the driver's side.
You see the blue paint from the picture.
And both of the mirrors were knocked off.
Did you see who did that?
I couldn't really identify who did it. However, I know the male who was closing the gate was a white, tall, Caucasian male. And I told him, what's going on here? Because he's closing the gate on the side my 2-year-old is sitting on in her car seat. He says, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. Mr. Giovanni at the time, who had presented himself as Giovanni, was instructing his workers in Spanish that by no means let us out. Mr. Giovanni at that time said that he was going to call the cops. However, Cop Ernst did call the dispatching group to see if any call was dispatched from that location, and it was a negative.
Who's Giovanni?
This is, I named my shop after my son.
When somebody comes in and asks for Giovanni, your name is Orlando.
I am Giovanni's DBA-S. Yes, Your Honor, that is true. I'm Orlando DBA-S Giovanni's. That's how my fictitious name is.
You have estimates on your car?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. We have an estimate that was done a couple of days after the incident.
The next day.
The next day.
Which is the 17th. It's also dated.
Do either of you have a police report?
Yes, we do.
We have a copy of the preliminary police report that was filed that day.
If I may,
Do you have a copy of a police report that you filed, Mr. Aristobal?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it, please.
If I may, Your Honor.
Shh.
Okay.
No. What year car is this?
It's a 1993 Infiniti G20.
Well, the cost of painting it is $3,000. It's
Right.
worth more than the car.
Exactly.
Right. You paint cars, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you charge for a really good paint job?
It varies from $2,500 to $500.
And what about to take out all the dents on a car?
Depends how many, what kind of dents.
Here you go. It's not often that I have an expert witness that I can question. You can stand up, sir.
It could be fixed without changing any parts.
Great. How much could you fix it for, sir?
I can fix this probably for $1,500.
You know what I find interesting, Mr. Aristobal? That Mr. and Mrs. Morales filed their police report the date of this incident, the 16th.
Right after.
You didn't bother to file yours until the next day.
When I went there, they told me I won't be able to file the same day because simply they have filled out one. And when I got there at the Foothill Police Division, they told me I must wait until next day so I can file a report. And I went back.
Are you telling me that a police officer said you couldn't give your version of the events on the same day?
Yes, because it was one taken already. Yes, Your Honor, that's
But the next day it was okay for them to take it.
Well, I went over it again.
So what you're telling me is the next day they said...
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Aristobal, you did the wrong thing, sir. There was a dispute. Whether you were right or wrong with regard to the dispute, you had an option. And your option was to let this gentleman and his wife leave.
I did.
And no, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. To let this gentleman and his wife leave, causing no problem, deciding to sue him, you had his name and address, you felt as if he owed you $85. That's what you do. You said, no, I'm calling the police. The truth of the matter is, if you had called the police at that very moment, Mr. Aristobal, you would have been the first one filing the police report. You didn't call the police at all.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Not that day you didn't, sir.
So help me God.
No, you didn't, sir. Because then you would have filed the police report before them, and if I listened to your logic, when they came out speaking, then when they came in, the police would have said to them, you can't file a report today, Mr. Aristobal already did. You have to come back tomorrow and file your report. I know exactly what happened. You don't have to be a genius to figure out what happened. There is no indication whatsoever by you or any witness that any work was done on Mr. and Mrs. Morales' car. You were annoyed that they weren't leaving the car. You told your employees to close the gate because you weren't going to let him take the car. You frightened his wife by your actions, and you're going to pay for his car.
And my daughter.
And he's not going to pay for any damage that he did to your gate or your dumpster because he had no right to try to keep him inside, which you did. You have recourse. This is not the Wild West. Judgment for the defendant in the amount of $1,700. You can have your car fixed for that amount. Otherwise, you'll have to total it.
Thank you.
To train him. Your Honor, this is case number 457 in the matter of Jimenez versus Brooks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
My money's on you.
Okay.
Ms. Jimenez, this used to be your boyfriend. You claim he has a bad temper, and while you were in the midst of an argument, he kicked your car and then body slammed you on your car, causing damage to your car.
Yeah.
Now you're suing him for damage to the car, but not damage necessarily to your body, which causes me some pause, because to me, if somebody took me and threw me against a car, I would sue him for hurting me, but I guess your car is important. And also, you say in another fit of rage, he broke your cell phone.
Yeah.
Mr. Brooks says, well, he did in fact break the cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
But he says with regard to the car, you were trying to run him down, and he merely tried to protect himself by trying to hold back 3,000 pounds with his foot. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did this incident happen with your car, Miss Jimenez?
October 7th.
Where were you?
We were at my house.
How long had you been at your house?
About 3 minutes. We'd gotten into an argument right as we pulled up.
He was in your car?
He'd gotten out of the car, and I was still in the car. And we'd gotten into an argument, and I didn't want to get out of the car. I didn't want him to go into my house, so I told him I was going to take him home.
He was coming to your house for what?
To take a shower.
Why? He doesn't have a shower?
his shower didn't have a shower curtain, and I guess he liked my shower better.
His shower didn't have a shower curtain?
Yeah.
How do you do that, sir?
Oh, we just took baths.
You just took baths in your house?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a shower curtain?
Lazy, I guess.
How long have you lived in this house without a shower curtain?
It was like 2 months.
2 months without a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
Who lives there?
Well, it was just me and my brother at the time.
Did you used to live with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And your father?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they have a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So he was coming to your house to take a shower because he got tired of taking baths at his house.
Yeah.
He probably got tired because if he didn't have a shower curtain and only took baths, I guarantee you that he didn't clean the bathtub.
That's not true.
That is true.
She's lying.
No. Anybody that doesn't have time to buy a shower curtain doesn't have time to rub-a-dub-dub scrubbing out the bathtub. Anyway, okay, so you picked him up to take him to your house to take a shower. You got into an argument in the car. He got out of the car. You didn't want to get out of the car. You wanted to drive him home.
Yeah. Somehow my roommate got involved into this argument, and he went up to the house to confront my roommate, and he assaulted my roommate. And then after that, he came back out, assaulted me, and then...
Well, tell me how he assaulted you.
He pushed me to the ground and kicked me in the leg.
What was the fight about?
That he used me.
Used you?
Yeah.
Used you for what?
Well, he didn't have a car, you know, he really didn't have very much money, and I was pretty much there for him.
Okay, so he threw you down on the ground and he kicked you twice. Go ahead.
He continued to follow me around, so I went and got in my car, and he continued to yell at me while I was in my car, and then he started...
What was he yelling?
I wasn't paying attention. I was just too disturbed by what he'd just done to me. And so I just sat in my car, and he kicked the hood, and then he kicked the side panel twice, and I have pictures here of the damages that he did.
That's not true, Your Honor. This didn't happen at her house. This happened at my house.
That's not true. She was telling the truth. She picked you up from your house without a shower curtain and took you to her house that did have a shower curtain to take a shower.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go into the house and take a shower?
No, I had gotten into a fight with her roommate.
Okay, about what?
Because he said that I was using her. So I went up to the door, and I asked him if he said something, and he said he did. So he was walking away, and I kept following him, and then I hit him.
You hit him?
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
No, ma'am.
Where did you hit him?
Well, I didn't really hit him. I kind of put... He was...
He hit him
as
in
he
the head.
Shh. She's lying.
No, look, just a minute. You just said you hit him.
Well, I pushed him in the back of his head as he was walking away. You know, kind of like that.
Not true.
Yeah, it is. And after that, we went into the backyard. We argued for a minute.
Who argued?
Me and him.
Well, I certainly would argue with you. I'd probably call the police. And then you got back into the car?
And she took me home.
So what happened when you got home?
Well, we got home. We were going to go out that night. I said I didn't want to go to the club. She wanted to go, so she got mad. She was in her brother's car at the time. She thought I stole her keys. She kept coming over there after she went home from the club. My witness is right here. Okay, she was cussing, just ran into my house, didn't knock or anything, just walked in. We're in there chilling, you know. She said, "Where are my keys? Where are my keys?" I said, "I don't have your keys." She leaves and comes back, leaves and comes back. She does this like 3 times, okay? Finally, she comes back with her car. And she said, "Where's my keys? Where are my keys?" She's drunk, by the way. I said, "Dude, you're stupid. If I have your keys, how are you in your car?" Okay, so I had
That's
to...
right. He said, "Dude, you're stupid." Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. So I had to physically take her out of my house to put her in the car. Okay, as I did that, she was backing up. She backed up like this, and then she went for it, like she was going to hit me. And I kicked the car. I did kick the car, but she was trying to hit me.
But she wasn't in the car when she did that.
Yeah,
That was not my car.
I had put her in the car.
You would put her in the car?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brooks, how long was Miss Jimenez your girlfriend?
2.5, 3 months, maybe.
Did you like her?
Yeah.
Why would you put her in her car if she was drunk?
Because she wouldn't get out of my house.
Weren't you concerned that maybe she would hurt herself driving around drunk in the car?
Yes, ma'am, but she does that all the time anyway. She always drives around drunk. Every time we go to the club, we're both drunk and she drives.
That makes you dumb and dumber. If you get into the car with somebody who's driving while they're intoxicated, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why are you so stupid?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I mean, we both drive drunk. I mean, I know how to drive when I'm drunk. I don't know.
You don't have any children or anything, do you?
Well, I do have a daughter.
Well, I was going to suggest you not do that. Now, you want to talk to me?
Okay.
Tell me your name.
My name is Derek.
Derek, you have a last name.
Villanueva.
Villanueva.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I pronounce that well?
That's fine.
So if I wasn't so good at pronouncing your last name, we'll just call you Derek.
That's fine.
Derek, were you a witness to this incident that happened on October the 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me where you were, Derek.
I was in Ronnie's house, sitting on the couch, playing the PlayStation.
Everybody's got a PlayStation. PlayStation he has, shower curtain he doesn't have.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The entire world knows that the two of you drive drunk. So if you get behind the wheel and kill somebody, it's not an accident anymore. Do we understand each other?
And later today,
I was violated because I had a dirty pee test because I smoked weed or whatever. And I had to do 3 months, and I got out, had a baby, get out of my mom's
Sounds like the American dream to me.
Yeah.
Sit down.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Jimenez says her ex-boyfriend, Ronnie Brooks, owes for kicking a dent into her car and for breaking her cell phone. Ronnie says Amy was drunk on the night in question.
Go ahead.
Well, first I heard a noise to the left, and it was a foot coming through the door. That would be her foot. So Ronnie took her to the car. Well, like he said, she tried to run over him whenever she backed up and then came forward, and that's what I had seen. I also saw them yelling at each other, but I didn't see him hit her.
He didn't hit her.
No, ma'am.
Because I read her complaint, and her complaint doesn't say he hit her.
That was because his friends were around that time.
Well, I mean,
his friends weren't around him when you filled out this complaint, madam.
Ma'am, she was also drunk, so, I mean, she doesn't even remember me.
Oh, you kicked her car.
I kicked it, yeah, but she tried to run me over.
Yeah, but you kicked it on the side.
He also slammed me on the hood several times.
I made one dent on that car.
He did only kick it once.
I only kicked it one time.
You kicked it once?
One time.
Very good, because these pictures were taken 2.5 months later, right?
They were. My father took those pictures because I did not have a camera at the time.
Well, that's too bad. 2.5, almost 3 months later, you don't bring pictures in of a car.
Your Honor, I filed the police report later on, like a month later. I was terrified of
A month later?
He promised me he was going to fix my car, and I was waiting for him to fix it. I went over to his house several times.
Just a second, Mr. Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
I tend to believe the fact that you kicked her car, and I tend to believe the fact that she was drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you, because otherwise she would have filed this police report the next day if it happened the way she said it happened. She waited a month, something happened, and I don't know, we even know whether you saw each other socially during that month. Did you or did you not?
Yes, ma'am. About 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, we did.
Where did you go 2 or 3 weeks afterwards?
She always went to my house after that happened.
I have to go to his house because he doesn't have a car.
You mean after this happened, you went to his house?
His roommate lived with him, and I knew if there was other people around, he wouldn't
Just a second. I don't care whether his roommate was there or not. You're making this up as you're going along, Miss Jimenez.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because if you're terrified of somebody, you don't go to their house. That's not what happens. You stay away from them, whether their roommate is there or not.
I was trying to get my car fixed, Your Honor.
Oh, please, give me a break, will you please? Tell me about how you broke her cell phone, sir.
Well, that was at her house whenever I had just got through getting to that confrontation with her roommate. She didn't want to take me home at first, and my clothes were in her car, so I just told her to open her car, and I would walk home. Okay, she didn't want to, so I just grabbed her cell phone and threw it across the parking lot.
And how much did you pay for your cell phone?
She did. She got another one free.
Did you get another one free?
Yes. That's what you told me last week.
My friend bought me another cell phone because I couldn't afford to get another cell phone.
Okay. Now, how much do you think it's going to cost to pull out the dents in this car?
For the particular part that I kicked, $400, because she had showed me the estimate. She went to my house and showed me, and I said I'd pay for that.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $480. $400 for the kick to the car and $80 for the cell phone. Stay away from each other. Stay away from him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And, by the way, one more thing. The entire world knows that the two of you now drive drunk. So if you get behind the wheel of a car and kill somebody, it's not an accident anymore. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand me? Perfect.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My roommate told me that he thought Ronnie was using me.
He didn't have a job, and she was taking him everywhere, and I told her that he was the one that was using her.
Ronnie did use me. He's scum. He's very violent.
No more. That's over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fernandez versus Holt. Step forward.
18-year-old homemaker April Fernandez is suing her boyfriend's sister, 24-year-old nurse's assistant Sheba Holt, for the return of a security deposit. Sheba says she kept the money because April ran up a $400 phone bill.
Miss Fernandez, I assume this is your boyfriend?
Yes.
Your brother?
Yes.
According to what I read, Miss Fernandez, in your complaint, you had been living with Miss Holt.
Her mother.
And
Correct.
she lived there too?
Yes.
With the boyfriend. And there came a time when you and Miss Holt decided to rent an apartment together. You gave her a deposit, $300.
Yes.
And then you changed your mind.
Yes.
Why did you change your mind?
During the time my son was in the hospital, and she would come up and visit.
Is he the father of that child?
Yes, he is.
How old is that child?
Now he's 4 months, 5 months actually.
Go ahead.
And during the time my son was in the hospital for surgery, he was only a couple weeks old, and my boyfriend and I planned to get our own apartment. We were living at his mom's house rent-free, and we were trying to save our money to get our own apartment. She came up with the idea that let's live together and we'll split the rent. So I went along with it. She picked me up, took me to the bank, I withdrawed money, and the day later I got released from the hospital, asked her to pick me up, and she never showed up. So I changed my mind and I asked for my money back, and she never paid me back.
That's incorrect. She lived with me because that is my home also. I pay half the bills, I pay the phone bill, I pay half the mortgage, everything. Me and my mother share the home. And so, yes, she was living with me under my roof.
That's fine. She gave you $300. You don't deny she gave you $300.
No, I don't deny that she gave me $300, but I also don't believe that I owe her $300.
Well, that's what you have to explain to me.
Well, I have a phone bill here from when she stayed at my house. I did say that she can stay rent-free until after she had her child, but I didn't say that she can run my phone bill up.
Incorrect.
And so when I got my phone bill and seen all these collect calls that she accepted from that young man who was in jail, I didn't feel like I needed to pay her $300 due to the fact that mortgage was due. We were all still living in that house.
Okay, I got it. Step. Miss Holt, let me tell you this. Generally speaking, you can't do what you want to do, which is write off the $300. And I understand you gave her $70 back.
Yes, I did because I felt
and you
bad.
acknowledge she gave you $70 back.
Yes, she did.
You can't decide that you're going to hold that for bills unless you had a contract that provided that she was to pay a phone bill.
Why would I need a...
Listen to me. Why? I don't know why. I have no idea why. She was staying at your house with a baby. He's in jail for what?
Anything.
What in me, but no.
Oh, I was in jail for a probation violation because I didn't show up to court, failure to appear. And so I had a warrant for my arrest, and I got put in jail for 2.5 months. Then I got out, and...
What had you been convicted of?
What have I been convicted of?
That was my question. You have the answer.
Well, I got convicted of, what was it again? It was, it was grand theft, but that was in 2000.
2000 grand theft. I want to know what you were violated on, sir. What underlying crime were you violated on?
I was violated because I had a dirty pee test because I, smoked weed or whatever.
Oh, my God.
So I got in trouble for that, and I had to do 3 months, and I got out, had a baby, and, I wanted to get my stuff together and get out of my mom's house.
Sounds like the American dream to me.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Okay.
I had enough. Miss Holt,
Your Honor.
Miss Holt, listen to me very carefully.
Sure.
You owe her $230. Who are you living with now?
I still live at my same house.
Perfect. With your mother?
Yes.
Now, what about him?
And he comes in and out as he pleases, bringing his little entourage to come live on me.
Do you know why that is, Miss
Why?
Holt? Because your mother permits it.
Well, anyhow, I
Listen
live
to
there,
me.
though,
No,
and I
listen.
pay half of the bills.
Am I speaking? When I speak, you don't. Take your hand off your hip. Only attitude here is mine.
That's right.
Your problem is you live with your mother. This is her baby.
No,
No. He's her baby. You're grown up. You work, right?
Yes.
You help pay the bills?
Yes.
You have a responsible job?
Yes.
You've had it for how long?
Forever.
Forever?
Yes.
He will always be her baby because he's never going to grow up. He's never going to be responsible. You have to find your own place because your mother is always going to let him come back into the house, going to let him come back with his entourage, and it's always going to irritate you. So if you want to be free of that stress and aggravation, find your own place. Now I'm going to listen to you.
Okay, Judge, you know, I just don't understand why she is suing me when I pulled her out of a situation where her mother, she's pregnant at 18 years old, 17, and her mother's getting ready to send her to jail pregnant. You know what I'm saying?
My mother, I don't want you to interrupt us.
And, you know, all these things, and she's putting her out. And I stopped what I was doing when this fool called me from jail saying, can you rescue my broad? So I go get her, bring her to my house, you know what I'm saying? Let her live in my room, rent-free, you know, and this is what I get. This is what I get in return. I get sued for taking care of this youngster.
Miss Holt.
She's wrong. I'm wrong for taking her into my home.
Don't.
Letting her use me, that's what I'm wrong for.
Miss Holt.
Yes, ma'am.
You are morally correct. You cannot, however, take her $230. Do I think that she's right to sue you after living, you know,
on me for over 6 months?
Do I think so? I think she lacks a certain amount of character.
Yes.
Right? But it looks like for every pot there's a cover. You get it? You get it?
Yes, I do.
Good. I'm glad I gave you a good laugh. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $230. Listen, don't be such a good person anymore.
You're right about that.
And find your own place, because your mother's always going to take him back. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yeah, this is case number 376 on the calendar in the matter of Hopper Damron versus Carnes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Who's Miss Hopper?
Hi.
Okay, and who are you?
I'm Melissa's mother. I'm Tammy Damron.
Why don't you have a seat, Miss Damron? How old are you?
Okay. 18.
Okay, why don't you have a seat for a minute? I don't know if we're going to need you. Is this your former husband?
Yes.
Or soon-to-be former husband?
Yes.
But you are still legally married?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
1 year on September 27th.
And you have a child who is how old?
Almost 3 months.
And Miss Carnes is his grandmother?
Yes.
Got it?
Got it.
From what I gather, a couple of years ago, you and your then boyfriend needed a car. You had an old car, and you decided to get a new one.
Right.
You didn't have good enough credit to buy a new one, so you asked Miss Carnes if she would buy the car in her name. You would make all the payments on the car, you and your husband.
Correct.
And you were going to trade in your old car as the down payment. They gave you a $2,000 credit.
Correct.
Is that right? And Grandma said she would do that, even though she risked her own credit if you didn't make the payments. But you did, in fact, you and your husband made the payments. Were you working during that year?
Yes, I did. Actually, I had a job being a nanny.
Did he work regularly?
No.
What did he do?
I have no idea. Well, he did actually...
What do you mean you have no idea? You lived with him.
He had a DJ job on the side. That's pretty much what he did on the weekends and sometimes during the week. And when he wasn't doing that, he was at home.
Who was taking care of the baby?
He wasn't born at the time.
So you were pregnant? Were you working while you were pregnant?
Yes.
Well, then an incident occurred with your husband.
Correct.
He assaulted you.
Yes.
That case is currently pending, is that right? Is that right, sir?
Yes.
So we're not going to get into that because that case has not gone to trial yet. So you separated. He took the car. You want your $2,000 back.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. Right?
Yes.
What kind of car did you trade in?
92 Geostorm.
And in what month and year did you trade it in?
August of 2003.
Well, explain to me why you think you are entitled to $2,000 back from Miss Carnes.
Basically, we had the arrangement that if we paid the payments that I would be able to drive the car, and we always made the payments. Whenever he wasn't working, I did pay the payments too.
And you used the car?
I honestly didn't have the car that much. He would take me to work.
Well, we don't balance that out. You had it sometimes, he had it sometimes. My question to you is, look, this is what she has.
Okay.
She doesn't have the car.
Right.
He has the car.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Stand up so I don't have to point. I'd like to look at you over here. She doesn't have the car. She's a good Samaritan.
Right.
He has the car.
Right.
All she does is have the aggravation. She has the loan. And she has the problem if he doesn't pay.
Right.
But she doesn't get anything out of this car.
Right.
So why do you think that she should give you $2,000?
Honestly, Judge, I think that I'm entitled to $2,000 because it It's not fair that I have to raise my son by myself with no car, nothing. Without.
That's not her problem. You want to say something? You could say something. I mean, that may be his problem, but that's not his grandmother's problem. Why should she go into her pocket and take out $2,000 and give it to you?
Because she's condoning what he did.
So what? That's not a legal response. What?
What I have to say, Judge Judy, is the car was mine. Melissa had transportation. She got together with this guy. The mistake in the matter was that we didn't get anything in writing. I didn't want them to use, Melissa had transportation. She worked, she goes to school. He didn't work. The fact of the matter is, now, whenever he wasn't working and the payments had to be made, it came from Melissa or from...
Ms. Damron, excuse me. You're not following me.
Okay.
Why should Miss Carnes, under what theory is it fair for her to go into her pocket? She doesn't have a car.
Because she didn't want to...
Just a second. She doesn't have a car. He's not a party to this action. Why should she go into her pocket and take out $2,000 and give it to your daughter?
I didn't want that car to be used as a down payment, but she
did it anyway.
Right. And
you're not
exactly. Yeah,
she
said that. She said that she would put the car in her name and not put their name on the title whatsoever.
Your daughter asked her to do that.
Yeah, and I was there at that time.
Just a minute. If they needed a better car, did they ask you to use your credit?
They did.
And you said no?
Yes.
Okay. Because you didn't want to have that responsibility. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so far, nobody has given me a logical reason why I should have Miss Carnes go into her pocket and take out $2,000 and give it to your daughter.
The reason I see is the fact that she should get the money from her grandson. She should get the money from her grandson because Melissa has the brand new baby. I have to take off work. Melissa had transportation. Now she has no transportation.
Right.
And he pays no child support.
That's not her problem.
Right. It's not her problem. But
Why
I'm
is
saying
that
she should get
her
the money from
problem. So what you're telling me is she should have more control over her grandson to get him to pay up and be responsible.
Well, basically.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I am, because
that's ridiculous.
She had
that's not what you do in a court.
Right. Well, I guess not, but they had the money to bail him out of jail whenever he put her in the hospital 3 days before she was having their son.
Instead of taking off work, why don't you help her? If you have a job and you are regularly employed, buy a car. If she works, then you say to her, Melissa, dear, you're going to have to make payments on this car so then you'll have transportation. You're her mother. Instead, what you did was you relied on his grandmother to do that because you didn't want to do it. His grandmother is not responsible to give her $2,000. Maybe her soon-to-be ex-husband might be responsible for providing her with some sort of transportation because he now has the transportation, but that's not up to me. That's up to the judge who's handling their divorce. Certainly, Ms. Carnes is not responsible for $2,000 that your daughter would like to buy a new car. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's just mad I won't be with her, and that's what she's causing all this drama over.
Basically, I was tired of being beat up and cheated on.
I've worked since I was 17. I've supported her. She's lived with me since she was 16.
No, he never works, and his grandmother basically bails him out of jail every time he beats my daughter up.
I want her out of my life. I would just want to be able to see my kid and live my life.
Basically, I don't think he's going to have anything to do with my son, considering I don't want him beating up my son, too.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of White versus Schimmels, step forward.
Nurse Diana White is suing her ex-boyfriend, switchboard operator Tom Schimmels, for the return of $4,000 worth of property. Diana says her ex is an abusive man. Tom is countersuing for harassment and mental distress.
Miss White, you claim that you met the defendant through a dating service. You moved in with him, and after a period of time, he told you that he wanted you to leave. You did, in fact, leave. It was not a pleasant separation. You claim he kept some of your property. You're suing him for that property in the amount of $4,000. Mr. Schimmel says that the only property that he has of yours is a stove that you left out on the front porch, that he's called you several times to come and get it. You can come and get it whenever you like because it's still there. Is that right, Mr. Schimmels?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And that Mr. Schimmels is counterclaiming because he says that since you left, you have been embarking on course of harassing conduct towards him, and you caused some damage to his home when you moved out. Mr. Schimmels, I assume that you are legally blind, sir, and that dog is a seeing eye dog. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. White, when did you meet Mr. Schimmels?
About June of 2003.
How did you meet him?
Through a singles line, a singles dating service.
You arranged your first meeting when?
I'm going to say June, the end of June.
And when did you move in with him?
The middle of October.
When did you move out?
February 10th.
Why did you move out?
Throughout our relationship, Tom would get angry and he would say, I just want you to move out. I just want you out of here. It made it very difficult to...
So why didn't you move out?
Because then he would say, I don't mean that. I just say that when I'm frustrated. The night of January 31st, we got into an argument over something very small, and he assaulted me that night. He hit me. I have a 911 tape.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I wasn't even comfortable in my own house.
Well, what would you like me to do about that, sir?
Well, that's why I countersued, because I was distressed, and,
I've been
and
distressed
she...
most of my life, sir. It doesn't mean that I come to a court and try to annoy somebody.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Diana White says ex-boyfriend Tom Schimmels owes for the return of patio furniture and a stove. Tom says Diana won't leave him alone.
According to what I read in the complaint, Mr. Schimmels gave you $2,500. What did he give you the $2,500 for?
That was for a grandfather clock, a china hutch, some rugs, and a computer desk, the bedding for the master bedroom, pictures, rugs, things like that.
Well, do you have a list?
Those are not...
Do you have a list?
I do not.
I do, Your Honor.
You do? Can I
Yes.
see the list? Who is this? Your friend?
This is my witness, Tim Flanagan.
Tim Flanagan, Judy.
Your last name, sir?
Flanagan.
Mr. Flanagan, step back, sir. Bird
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
like anybody to get too close, even
Yeah,
though
all
I
right.
know you don't look dangerous.
Thank you. You bet.
A hutch, lamps, grandfather clock, curtains in the master bedroom, desk, office, rug in the family room, and pictures in the master bedroom. Then you write, by no means is $2,500 fair, something the police have been to the house 2 times, and I do not want the... What is this, Bert? We'll ask her if she can read this, since it's her handwriting.
I couldn't read it either. Sorry for the pun.
Have been to the house. I do not want the abusiveness and fighting to increase, so under duress, I agreed to this.
Okay, fine. So, now, what things do you have, madam, that you say he refused to let you take from the house?
There's an entertainment center that I purchased in October, and I have a receipt for that. I purchased $2,300 worth of mini blinds and drapes. There's my antique stove.
Let's deal with this. As far as the mini blinds, etc., you don't get those back. They're fixtures. They're a part of the property, so you don't get them back, and he's not paying you for them. The stove you get back because he says he has the stove, and you can come and get it at any time.
Your Honor,
Go and
he
get it.
said this in the past, and he won't
Okay,
let me.
we'll create an order that 5 days from today's date, at 12 o'clock, you're going to come there with a, is this an old stove?
It's an antique stove.
Fine. Going to come there, and she's going to pick it up. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir. I've told her many times to come get it, and she
Fine.
refused to do that, and I've
Good.
given her, all of her stuff.
Fine. Terrific. The entertainment center. What about the entertainment center, sir?
She said when we were buying, I bought all the furniture from More Furniture. She said that she was going to buy that for me as a gift.
Give me the date.
It had to have been in October when we moved in, because I bought all brand new furniture for the whole house. And
Okay. So listen to me very carefully, sir. In October or November, that means that within either a month to 2 months, you told her to leave the house, correct? After just pay careful attention, Mr. Schimmel.
Okay.
Within a month or 2 after she bought the entertainment center, according to you, for the house, you told her to leave. Is that right?
In December, yes.
And it's true that some of the stuff that is in your home, like the blinds and the stuff that is attached to the house that I already told her she can't have back because they're attached to your house, you still have there. Is that right?
Correct.
And you are complaining, sir, that she's harassing you because your counterclaim said that she's been harassing you for money. Is that right?
Yes, she owes me money for damaged deposits.
Just listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't sue her for damaged deposits or anything else until she brought this lawsuit against you, Mr. Schimmel. So what I'm saying to you is, you're complaining that the harassment is because she keeps calling you, asking you for money.
Right.
Or her things. And I'm saying to you that it would have been smart of you if you told her to leave within a month or two of her buying you this entertainment center for the house she was moving. You should have given it back to her.
Well, I understood that it was a gift when she bought it.
I don't think so. How's that?
$771.52.
You prepared to give her back the entertainment center, sir? Along with the stove?
I can give her the stove. I mean, the entertainment center is built. I mean, it'd be really difficult for me to do that.
Okay. All right, so she gets the stove plus $771.50. What else, Miss White? And don't go into nonsense with me, because otherwise I'll reconsider the $771.50.
I'm not. My patio furniture is there, my molded lawn chairs, my padded folding lawn chairs are there. He did return 2 of my hoses, but the ends were cut off of them. There's wind chimes, there's
don't go into nonsense with me.
A 1940 radio.
You have an old radio, 1940 radio.
That she was going to throw away and she said I could have.
It's now become very, very important to her to have this old radio back. It's an antique. She wants it back. And when you give her back this property, she's going to stop annoying you. Do you understand?
You aren't one at all. I understand.
Good. So we have a stove that's going back to you and a radio. That's it, Miss White. Plus $771 for the entertainment center. Now let us briefly go into this counterclaim that you have. She's been harassing you. She's going to stop harassing you and calling you for money because you're giving her back the property that, according to what I believe she's entitled to, she's going to get within 5 days. Then you say she pulled her paintings right out of the walls and I had to hire a handyman to patch up and paint the damaged walls.
Yes.
Did you pull everything out of the walls?
No.
Show me pictures.
We don't have pictures.
Don't have
Good. Then you have no counterclaim.
But we have where we paid a man to fix the walls, and I've seen the walls when she moved out, and there was holes in them.
Why didn't you take a picture? If you intended to sue her, why didn't you take a
Well,
picture?
I didn't realize they were going to get into such an argument over some holes in the walls.
I mean, neither. So if you didn't plan on getting into an argument over holes in the walls, why are you bothering me with it now?
Yeah, okay.
Good. Counterclaim is dismissed.
Great.
There's a judgment for the plaintiff that I'm entering 5 days from today. You to pick up your stove from his porch and the radio, which will be on the porch, on top of the stove, or underneath the stove, or next to the stove, plus $771 for the entertainment center that he says is too difficult to dismantle. Do you understand?
Yes.
By 12 noon. Otherwise, it's gone. Consider it over.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I've tried to get it over for a long time.
That's all. Listen to me.
I've not,
It's
you know, I mean,
over.
I wasn't even comfortable in my own house.
Well, what would you like me to do about that, sir?
Well, that's why I countersued, because I was distressed and
I've been distressed most of my life, sir. It doesn't mean that I come to a court and try to annoy somebody. Do you understand? You should have given her back a radio. You should have paid her for the entertainment center.
I tried to.
You did? You tried to pay her for the You paid her for the entertainment center?
No, because she
sent her
said
a
that
check?
was a gift.
Mr. Schimmels, say goodbye, sir. Mr. Flanagan will help you out. That's all.
Vice Chan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Newsom, it is your claim that owing to the defendant's negligence, your dog ran away. I assume this is the dog. As a result of that, you found the dog in pound. You had vet bills, pound costs, etc. Miss Chan says that you were a squatter on her property. You were not a tenant there, that the dog was left in her backyard. She opened the gate to leave. Your dog ran out. She had absolutely no obligation to go chasing after your dog. And in addition, she says that while you were a squatter there, you hit her house with your truck. You caused damage to her home. She wants you to pay for that. Miss Newsom, do you own this house?
I own the house.
How many apartments do you have in the house?
3 houses over there, triplex.
3 houses?
Right, triplex.
And Mr. Newsom, he is not a tenant of yours, is
No,
that right?
not at all.
Is that
Not
right,
at
sir?
all.
Yeah, I didn't live there.
Did you park your truck there at her house?
I visited my friend Mario on the weekends because I lived in L.A. at the time, and then I was working in Yorba Linda, so I stayed in Yorba Linda during the week. and I come in town on the weekends and stay with him on the weekends.
So you were staying there with your truck?
Yes, on weekends.
For how long?
I don't know, a month and a half or something. I forget now. He was until Mario moved out. I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, let's try to pay attention and get specific. What month did you start to come in to visit Mario?
It would have been November 2003 through December of 2003.
And when did your dog disappear?
I guess, from what I understand, it was 4 days before I came to pick him up, which would have been on the 15th of October, I guess. I realized he had disappeared on the 19th when I came to pick him up.
You said you stayed there from November of 2003 till December of 2003.
That's right.
Your dog disappeared in October. That doesn't make sense.
That's right, because I wasn't staying there when my dog was being watched there. I went to Oregon to visit a friend and his mother who was dying. When I came back is when I, at that point, started staying there. And he was watching my dog for me while I was gone in Oregon.
How long did you leave your dog there?
I don't know, I think 10 days it was.
What's your name, Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Mr. Carmona, where was Mr. Newsom staying when he stayed in your house?
He would either stay upstairs, sleep on the floor upstairs, or because I had my aunt, my brother, and his girlfriend at the time, he didn't want to be a further inconvenience. So he said just lend him a couple blankets and he'd go ahead and just sleep in his bed of his truck for the night. I'd tell him to go upstairs and sleep in the...
And in what month did he come to stay with you?
But he didn't live, like he said, he would come over and visit on the weekends, but that started around November, about November.
All right. Now, when he left in October, he says he left his dog with you. Did he leave his dog with you?
Yes, he asked me if I could keep an eye on his dog while he went to go take care of some business that he had to take care of up in Oregon, I believe it was.
So, did you take care of his dog?
Yes, he left all the food that he needed. He left it upstairs with me.
How did the dog get away?
That is a good question. There was an incident where the dog was running around loose prior to Mr. Newsom leaving to Oregon. I had to call him because I couldn't put the dog back on his leash, on his runner.
Why not?
He wouldn't listen to me. I called Mr. Newsom. He had to drive back an hour. He put him back on the leash, and I informed everybody in my house, don't let him off the runner. He had plenty of rope, plenty of chain so he could run around.
So you left him in the backyard?
He had a big backyard to run around.
You left him in the backyard?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he come into the house in the evening?
No.
So you left him in the backyard all the time?
Yes.
Was this backyard solely for you and the two other people on the lease, or was it for a lot of other people?
It was a shared backyard.
Well, what gives you the right to put the dog in the backyard?
None, but I did ask Ms. Chan that I was going to be keeping an eye on the dog. There was a doghouse in the back because there was already a dog
When
back
did
there.
you ask Ms. Chan if you could
Before
keep the dog?
Mr. Newsom left for Oregon,
Did he,
I asked her.
Ms. Chan?
No.
Of course not.
Yes, I did.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay.
Don't believe you, sir.
No.
If you had a dog that you couldn't control and there were other tenants using that backyard, it is unlikely that a landlord whose insurance is responsible would say, sure, keep a dog that's uncontrollable in the backyard so my other tenants are going to have trouble. Unlikely.
Ma'am.
All right. Do you know how the dog got away?
No, ma'am. All I know is when I left to work that morning, the dog was on the leash. When I came home, it wasn't on the leash. I spoke to Ms. Chan, asked what happened.
And what did she say?
She said she had opened up the gate to give both dogs because the other tenants that lived on the property had a pit bull that, if Ms. Chan may remember correctly, the first day that I went over there to look at the apartment before I moved in.
Just do me a favor. Just tell me what happened with your dog.
I asked what happened to the dog.
And she said?
She said that she let the dogs out to play and she opened up the gate so they could run around and they never came back.
What happened, Ms. Chan?
No, because I went out. I parked in my car in the backyard. When I go out, I go to get my car and I gotta go. So I opened my gate, I went, and the dog went too. They both went together. One is female, one's male.
So they were not on a leash?
No.
They were not on the
all.
lead?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
And you didn't go after them?
No.
Right. I wouldn't go after them.
It's not my dog. Why should I go after them?
Absolutely right. What else do you want to tell me?
I would like to tell you that Mrs. Chan was totally comfortable with my dog being there. And once I come back from Oregon and found my dog, took him to the vet, took care of all that, and I still continued to come on weekends and visit. She had no problem with me helping her property. Her property was in pretty bad state of...
what does that have to do with your dog?
It's got to do with the fact that she was comfortable with me being there when I was helping out on her property. She was, before her denying that my dog was allowed to be there, she had no problem with my dog being there.
Just a second. You're not following, sir. She has no duty to run after your dog.
But she has the duty if she says it's okay for my dog to be in that yard, to allow it to be there while it's there.
Listen to me, sir. She has no duty to run after your dog.
You're right. unless she let him off his leash.
She says she didn't.
Of course she did. She's not going to admit to it now that I've got a $500 bill in front of her. Yeah, I guess not. She was
sure
pretty sure I
isn't.
wasn't going to sue her either. But the problem we have here is...
Listen, Slick, take care of your own dogs. If you have to go to Oregon, take your dog with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Madam, I can't tell what happened with this house. The house looks
Yeah.
like it's in deplorable condition.
The whole property is.
That's why he
Listen
hit.
to me. I'm speaking. I don't need you to help me.
You're right.
And later today,
He was incarcerated for 2 years. Then he became uncontrollable again, and he was getting physical with me, pushing me around, and he was getting really out of hand.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
James Newsom says his friend's ex-landlord, Lai Chan, allowed his dog to run away. Lai says James is homeless and he was squatting on her property.
Listen to me. I want to know if when you were going into her house, you banged into
I never
her house
went in
with your
her
truck.
house, and I did not hit her house.
Okay. When do you say he hit your house with his truck?
During the time he stayed in my backyard, and at night, because it's dark, he said he can't see it. He hit it, and the next morning I asked him to...
What date?
I don't have the date.
Well, why did you wait so long?
Because he's homeless.
Because I
I
filed
don't
a
know
suit
where
against
he
her.
is.
No, it's because she countered
You
her
know?
suit after she received mine. Of course.
Probably true.
I went over there the other day after I found out she was suing me and took pictures of the only place she could possibly hit her house. And the house doesn't show that, I mean, the house is just in bad shape altogether, but I don't know how you could say if I hit it or I didn't hit it. I mean, it's just in bad shape. Although I did re-roof one of her houses that I have another suit against her for because she refused to pay for that. And I have pictures of the fact that the house she lives in has got a roof blowing off, and a house next to it that's hers, I did the roof on, and I have not been paid for that.
What?
This is an estimate.
Madam, I can't tell what happened with this house. The house looks
Yeah.
like it's in deplorable condition.
The whole property is.
That's why he
Listen
hit.
to me. I'm speaking. I don't need you to help me.
You're right.
The house is in deplorable condition. I can't tell what he hit and what he didn't. He just said he didn't hit your house. You're not responsible for his dog. He's not responsible for your house.
Oh,
Mr.
you know what?
Mario
Check
moved
this
out?
out.
Yeah, it's
Mario
gone.
moved out?
Gone.
Good. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
And I knew you'd do that. That's all right, though.
Good.
That's all right.
Always excuse. Step out, please.
You're exactly what I thought you'd be. Come on, Hood. Let's go. That's why I should never come to this court. I knew she'd do that. All I know is she wasn't there when I came back from Oregon, and nobody told me nothing.
He lied in the court. He been staying there for at least 4 or 5 months.
I came in, I asked Mario. He just pointed and said, go talk to Miss Chan. He didn't want to tell me a word.
I tell him, that's your responsibility. Don't put me on.
I went and talked to her. She goes, I don't know nothing. I know nothing.
I don't want to help nobody no more. Once enough. And they put me on the court? No.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hammond versus Hemstreet. Step forward.
16-year-old Robert Hammond III and his dad, Robert Jr., are suing Robert's mother, property manager Carolyn Hemstreet, for taking back a truck she gave to Robert for his 16th birthday. Carolyn claims the vehicle was never a gift.
Mr. Hammond, this is your former wife and your son that two of you share. According to what I read in your complaint, since your divorce, your son has spent time with both his mother and with you.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
And sometime last year, when your son was living with his mother, he turned 16, according to your son, his mother gave him a truck. Is that right, sir?
Yes, that was actually earlier this year. Oh, that is right, Your Honor.
When did you turn 16?
June 20th of 2004.
And when did your mother give you the truck?
Well, I started driving the truck when I was about 15 and a half. When I got my driver's permit, she started letting me drive it with her and then with other adults just to learn how to drive a vehicle. She basically physically gave me the truck on my 16th birthday. She was like, oh, happy birthday. This is your truck. Do what you want with it.
And that was June 20th of 2004.
That's correct.
When did you go to live with your father?
I moved in with my father September 4th of 2004.
Now, from June 20th, 2004 until September 4th, 2004, when you lived with your mom, did you drive the truck every day?
Yes.
Did your mother drive the truck?
Very rarely, because she has like 4 other vehicles. She has a brand new Dodge Ram.
Who else lived in your home with your mother?
It was just me, my mother, and my stepdad.
Now, when you went to live with your father on September 4th, you took the truck with you?
Yes.
And when did your mother take it back?
I think it was approximately September 27th.
Tell me about that.
Well, basically, I was living with my mom for a while, and then she started getting really frustrated because she was trying to buy a new house, and she got really stressed out, and she was like, you know, oh, maybe you should move in with your dad, this and that. So I was like, okay, well, you know, maybe I'll look at it. So I ended up starting to talk to my dad, and I was talking to my different aunts. They were saying, yeah, you know, at this point in your life, you know, it's better to live with your father. But basically, you know, I was just really stressed out trying to deal with my senior year and then having my mom, you know, stressing me out because I wasn't able to work. and like I wasn't able to rely on her to
So
give me
you
money.
went to live with your father.
Yeah.
September 27th, she took the truck back. My question was, tell me about her taking the truck back.
Oh, basically she came up to my school September 27th, and she came with the pink slip and everything because the truck was still in her name since I was under her custody. And she was like, so, do you want to give me the truck back? And I was like, no, because it's not really your truck.
When had she asked you for the truck before September 27th?
A few days before that, she had came over to my grandma.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, I was over at my grandma's. It was about September 25th.
Don't play with your paper, madam.
And she came over requesting the truck, and I was just in the middle of like helping out my grandma doing some work for her. Mom was just like, oh, give me back your truck, this and that. And she tried to like physically take it from me. I refused to give her the key.
Was that the first time she had asked you for the truck?
No, I think she had asked me on the phone once before that, but then I thought she had dropped it because I was just like...
Well, what did she say on the phone?
I don't remember her exact words, but basically she was like, oh, if you want to live with your dad, basically you need to pay for the truck. She was like, you can pay me in payments. She was just basically saying, oh, you need to pay me $5,000 for the vehicle.
And what did you say?
I said, that's not really realistic because the truck was given to me as a gift. Therefore, I invested money in it, and I didn't think I would have to pay you back for the truck that was already given to me. So I was like, no, I'm not going to pay you for a truck that you supposedly gave to me.
From June of 2004, when you got the truck, until September, when you moved in with your father, had your mother ever made any statement to you that would indicate that she expected you to pay her for the truck?
No.
Never?
Never.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Robert Hammond III says his mother, Carolyn Hemstreet, took back a truck she gave him for his 16th birthday.
Now, when you moved in with your father in September, you made some modifications to the truck and you did some work on it?
Oh, no, I made the modifications while I was living with my mother. She had encouraged me to do the modifications because the truck, it was like a pink truck. And basically, I didn't feel comfortable driving around with a pink truck, what I mean?
You mean pink in color?
Yeah.
Okay, so you painted it and did whatever else?
Had it lower, it had rims put on it,
I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I allowed my son to use the truck because we lived 8 miles south of town.
Did you ever say to him on his birthday, here's the truck?
No, I said, you're authorized to use the truck now that you have a license, because he was cited for driving the vehicle without a license, and he was speeding also.
So you're telling me on his birthday you said to him, you can now use the truck?
Well,
is that what you're telling me?
Well, he was using the truck against my better wishes prior to his 20th birthday.
16th birthday.
His 16th birthday. Well, he acts like a 20-year-old, excuse me.
Were you in favor of him moving in with his father?
No, Your Honor, I wasn't.
Why not?
Well, Robert had just recently been released from a group home where he was incarcerated for 2 years, and he had been with me approximately 3 or 4 months, and then he became uncontrollable again, and he was getting physical with me, pushing me around, and we were verbally assaulting each other, cussing each other out, and he was getting really out of hand. But
what kind of work do you do, Mr. Hammond?
I work for the state of California. I'm an insurance claims representative.
Does your judgment of divorce provide for custody for your son?
Yes, I do have sole physical custody.
In the judgment of divorce?
Yes.
Is there an order of support?
Yes.
Your former wife is supposed to pay support for him?
Yes, there's several $1,000s in arrears that she has not paid.
Why is that?
Well, Your Honor, at the time, I've been disabled for approximately 16 years since Robert was an infant. And at the time...
What's the nature of your disability?
I'm a bipolar. I stressed out as a result of job-related stress working with the Sheriff's Department at a prison.
Has the order of support ever been lifted?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a time when I had sole physical custody of my Robert, which was just prior to him being with his father. And also, I owed his father child support, and he was also paying me child support.
How much do you owe him in child support?
Approximately, I figure I owe him about $15,000 in child support.
Do you have other children?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How many?
I have 2.
How old are they?
10 and 11.
Your disability didn't prevent you from having other children?
No, sir. I had the children shortly after I became disabled.
Can I see the pink slip for the truck, please?
Well, Your Honor, I don't physically have the pink slip because I did sell the vehicle. I sold it to an auto dealer for $1,800, which was below the Blue Book value.
Let me see.
This is a statement for the sales, and then also...
very silly lady, Miss Hemstreet.
Well, sir...
You are a very, very silly lady, madam.
Okay.
I don't believe this. That's not the way a dealership, whether it's a used car dealership or anything else, prepares a bill of sale. They put a VIN number on there, they put plate numbers on there. I don't buy this. This does not look, to me, like the kind of receipt somebody gives when they purchase a car if they're a corporation.
That is correct. I agree with you.
Well, Okay. How much did you spend on the car?
A little bit over $2,000.
Miss Amster, you are a very foolish woman. You have a son who's 16 years old who maybe is putting his life back in order, maybe, maybe not. At least he appears to be getting along reasonably well with his father. It is clear to me that you at least led him to believe that this car was his on his 16th birthday, that he invested some money into it, into making it his, giving it lack of a pink tone, a more masculine tone, and doing whatever else he did with it. You owe $15,000 in child support. According to you, you sold this truck, if I believed you, for $1,800. Your relationship with your son is not worth $1,800.
No, but I felt compelled to do so because my son almost killed us in a truck once by stopping in traffic. And recently he was involved in another accident, a rear-ended. And so I felt like I didn't want to give my son a vehicle that might ultimately end his life.
You gave it to him already.
I gave it to him to use, Your Honor. But Robert, physically, he was aggressive, and he took the truck from me, him and his father.
No, you told me that you gave it to him. You said you gave it to him and told him.
I gave it to him to use because of where we lived.
Listen to me. She says she sold the truck for $1,800. I can't tell you whether she sold it for $1,800 or not. I don't think that she would know the truth if it came up and slapped her in the face. In any event, that's what she says, and I think that she had no right to sell a truck that she gave to you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. That's all. Thank you.
Excuse me. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
18 years old.
What's your first name?
Christina.
The defendant was an old family friend of yours.
Yeah, we were
and your
real
mother's?
close. Yeah, she was my mom's best friend.
And she did a very foolish thing because she sold you a used car, which is always a bad thing to do with a friend. However, in your case, you claim that she sold you the car for $800.
Yeah.
And you gave her a down payment.
Yeah, $400.
And then made other payments to her, and you still owed her $100.
Yeah.
And she came and repossessed the car. You won all the money that you paid her.
Yeah.
Plus the insurance and the tags that you had paid out in order to get the car on the road. The defendant says that, yes, in fact, you did purchase the car, and you only gave her a couple of $100, never paid her anything else, which is why she took the car back. And she is counterclaiming because she says you're going around town calling her all kinds of names, saying she's involved with drugs, and she's counterclaiming for really defamation of character, but she only thinks her character is worth $800 because that's her counterclaim. So I have to question that. Anyway, when did you purchase this car, and what kind of car was it?
It was a 1994 Crown Victoria. I purchased it on February 14th, 2004.
Okay, so you bought yourself a Valentine's Day present.
Yeah.
And you needed this car for what, Christina?
For college. I'm going to start college in the fall, and I've been saving up all this time.
Great. Okay, how did it come about that you purchased this car?
Well, at the beginning of February, Paula, she's a real close friend. I always talk to her and stuff, and she told me she was selling a car, and she thought of me first because she knew I was looking for a car. So she told me to keep in mind, and I had my $400, and she's like, good. So February 14th, I was surprised, and she called me, and she said, you know, do you want the car? I'm selling it now. You can pay me. I know you don't have all the money. You can pay me when you get your paychecks. And so she took me to get my insurance on the car.
And how long did you have the car?
It got stolen March 29th, but I only was able to drive it till March 15th.
Why is that?
Because my temporary plates expired.
And why couldn't you get permanent plates?
Because she did not give me the title. She told me over and over again that it was in the mail. She kept saying that they sent it to her old address. And she kept saying, don't worry, it'll come.
That's so high.
And I mean, me and my mom, we waited, and since I was so close, I trusted her.
Okay. You gave her $400 on the 14th of February.
Yes.
And when did you give her the rest of the money that you gave her?
I get paid every other week. And on February 27th, David, he was with me. We went to her house. I handed her the $100.
David? Who's David? David, what's your last name?
Bond.
Your friends?
Yeah.
Do you know the defendant as well?
Yeah.
How do you know her?
Through Christina. I've been over a couple of times to her house.
On the 27th, tell me where you went with Christina.
Well, on the 27th of February, around 7 o'clock, me and Christina and another friend, Justin, we went over to Paula's house. And Christina was going to pay her $100. And I witnessed Christina pay her $100.
Did she have cash?
Yes.
Who was this person?
That's my brother, Bobby.
I could tell that.
Oh, well. He's also a witness to her down payment.
Did you witness any other payments?
No, that was it.
Have a seat. Bobby,
Yes, ma'am.
tell me about this down payment that you witnessed.
Well, it was February 14th when she first purchased the car. And when
How
she,
do you know that? Because she told you it was February.
Well, I was over there, actually, because my friend dropped me off because we had a school project we had to do. Then I had to wait there for a little bit because she had to go get her insurance because they went to go get insurance.
The two of them?
Yeah. Then when they came back, I saw Christina's car. We were excited. I had pictures taken with her, me, in her car and everything. And after that, that's when they got down to business. And that's when Christina handed her money, and she straight out counted out $400 right there. And I witnessed the whole thing.
Good. Thank you. Have a seat. Okay, so now we have on the 14th, $400, according to you, and on the 27th, another $100. That's
Yeah.
$500.
On March 3rd, we made a bill of sale because that's the only way you can get temporary tags, and we got temporary tags.
Do you have a bill of sale with you?
It was in the car, and when she stole it, she didn't give me nothing back, and I had all my information in a glove compartment box.
Okay, so on the 3rd?
Yeah, I have
the third
thing
bill of sale.
to prove my temporary tags, if you want to see that.
Sure. Let's see. On the 3rd, did you give her any more money other than bill of sale?
March 12th.
So the next time you gave her money was March 12th?
Yes, and I gave her another 100.
Where were you when you gave her the other 100?
Olderman's Market is by her house, and that's where I cash my check when I get paid. And she told me she'd meet me up there, and me and my sister were up there, and she got the money and she left.
Okay, any other money that you paid to her?
Yeah, on March 26th, she came over to my house, and I was kind of, wary. I was like, well, the title hasn't came yet. And she kept assuring me, she was like, I wouldn't do nothing to you, come on. I know she needed the money, so I gave her the 100. At that time, March 26th, I couldn't drive the car because my temporary tags had expired, and it was outside of my house.
And she hadn't given you the title yet?
No, she hadn't.
Did you ever get the title,
No.
by the way? Okay, when was the car taken?
It was taken March 29th.
3 days later?
Yes.
And it was taken by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll hear you.
I've been friends with Christina since she was about 5 years old. The $400 payment that she claims that they gave me was not true. She gave me $200 down on the car, okay, with the agreement that as of March 1st, the car would be paid for in full so that I could get the title out of the title loan.
What's a title loan? Explain that to me.
You go in and you give them your title, and they give you a loan for money. And I had taken a loan out in in December.
Let me see.
On the car.
Why did you take out a loan on the car in December?
Because I needed money to pay a few bills.
Had you ever done this before?
No.
What kind of bills did you have? So you
I
were
had
really
to pay an electric bill and a gas bill.
Do you work?
No, ma'am. I'm a homemaker.
How many children do you have?
I have one child that lives with me that's 8, and my daughter lives with my mother.
Well, you have an 8-year-old child that lives with you, who goes to school full-time. Why don't you work?
Because he has a lot of problems. He's bipolar disorder and conduct type 2 disorder.
Does he go to school every day?
Yes, and I donate my time to the school to be there with him.
How do you support yourself?
My son gets a disability check.
How much?
$552. And I pay my rent and my utilities with that.
How do you support yourself? So far you told me that the state supports your child. How do you support yourself?
I use the money from the state so that I can be with my son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Christina had called me and told me that she was going to call the state on me and that this wasn't over and that she was going to do whatever she could to make my life a living because of what I did to her.
And later today,
He took the rings because he wanted to teach you a...
Lesson.
And then you...
I lost them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Piesel says former friend Paula Kronk illegally repossessed her Crown Victoria. Paula claims Christina spread rumors that she was on drugs.
According to you, she gave you $200. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's all she gave you?
Yes, ma'am. I kept my plates on the car so that she could drive the car.
And she had a bill of sale that you had given her?
I had wrote her a bill of sale, correct.
Where's the bill of sale?
I don't have it, Your Honor. They did.
No, she said it was in the car.
It was not in the car, Your Honor. She had it.
I don't know if I believe that. All right, let's hear your counterclaim.
Basically, I'm counterclaiming because after I took the car, they had called my mother, my friends, my family, claiming that I was on drugs and that I was stealing from them.
That's all hearsay. You have a witness to that?
No, ma'am, I don't. I have papers from the state because they had threatened to call the state on me, and the state came in and they called my son's school.
Just a second, listen to me. Do you have any witnesses
No, ma'am, they had to
this
work.
defamation?
They had to work.
Okay, well, then you don't have a case. You
Okay.
have no witnesses, because certainly you weren't on the other end of the phone, right?
I was on the other end for a lot of the phone calls.
Really?
Yes.
Well, tell me what you heard.
Christina had called me and told me...
Called you?
Yes. And told me that she was going to call the state on me and that this wasn't over and that she was going to do whatever she could to make my life a living because of what I did to her.
Let's go here, Miss Cron.
Yes, ma'am.
You sold her the car in mid-February.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew her and you knew her family.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you went there, she had $200, according to you, to give you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew that she worked.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was going to be the source of income for her to get the car to you.
Exactly.
Did she pay rent where she lived?
No, I don't have
she
any
didn't.
bills.
And
She didn't
actually,
have- Shh. Do you know how much she was earning?
No.
Did you know how long it took her to save up that $200?
Her mom is the one that gave me the $200, not her. Her mother is the one that gave me the I drove her mother to the bank, and her mother withdrew the $200 out of the savings account and gave me the $200.
Whose savings account?
It was Christina and her mother's.
Okay. So her mother took the $200 out of Christina's savings account
Yes,
because
ma'am.
clearly it was Christina's money.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you ask her mother whether or not the savings account had more money in it so that
Yes,
you could
I did.
so that you could get more money?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to get more money out of the account?
They didn't
no,
give me-
because they didn't have more money in the account at the time.
Exactly.
Correct? You explained to me how you expected her to come up with 3 times that amount of money in 2 weeks.
Her mother reassured me that they would help.
No.
Yes, she did.
No. That's hearsay, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So I have to make a judgment. My judgment is very simple. I have to decide whether a person would give her a car, do all kinds of things, including taking up for the insurance, giving her the tags, if all she gave you was $200. And I find that you were close enough to her and close enough to her mother to know what she was doing and to know that in 2 weeks you couldn't raise $600, that the plaintiff's explanation is totally more feasible than yours, which is she gave you half what she had, which was $400. So you gave her possession of the car with the understanding that every other week she would give you another $100, which she did up until the end of March. So I believe she paid you a total of $700 for the car. You owe her $700. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700, and I do not believe this slander baloney and your name, if it were true, should certainly be worth more than $800 to you. Counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I mean, she lives down the street, a couple streets over. So I run into her all the time, and it's sad.
She was lying, and just because she brought her best friends with her, they're lying too. They never seen her give me any money. She didn't give me any money.
That's a lot. I work a steady job. I don't have no bills. I'm 18, so I had the money. I have plenty of money to give.
I don't talk to her no more.
You can't trust anybody. And I loved her like my own mother, and she burned me and took my car.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLaurin versus Hoffman. Step forward, please.
27-year-old student Kelly McLaurin is suing her ex-fiancé, 22-year-old product representative Armin Hoffman, for wrecking her car and losing 2 of her rings. Armin says he financially supported Kelly throughout their relationship.
Miss McLaurin, you were engaged to Mr. Hoffman. Is your claim that he took 2 rings, one the engagement ring that he had given to you, and the other an engagement ring that someone else had given to you? He took them for whatever reason, and he lost them. You want to be reimbursed for those rings. And in addition, after you broke up, but you have a child together?
Yes.
He used your car to drive your daughter someplace, and he had an accident in the car. You want him to pay to have the car fixed. Mr. Hoffman says that he took the rings because he wanted to teach you a
lesson.
And the lesson was?
She kept leaving the rings laying around, and she'd seemed like she didn't even care that she had them.
So you wanted to teach her a lesson in responsibility.
Ability.
And then you
I lost them.
lost them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly McLaurin says ex-fiancé Armin Hoffman owes for wrecking her car and for losing 2 of her rings.
Does it sound foolish what you did?
No, I think my reason had merit.
Your reason had merit, but the bottom line was you lost the rings.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not how many battles you won and lost. Did you win or lose the war? You lost the war. The only problem with the rings are, Miss McLaren, is the engagement ring you had to return to him anyway.
Actually, when we broke up the second time, I gave him the ring back, and he said he did not want it and to keep it. And
he didn't mean it. The engagement ring that he gave you, you had to give back to him. Now tell me about this other ring that he took and lost.
It was an engagement ring from a former relationship.
Well, what did it look like, and how much is it worth?
I picked it out back in '95, and we purchased it for $1,500.
Can I see it, please?
And that was back in '95. I do not have a receipt. He has the receipts and everything. It was a princess cut ring, 3 stones, a total of ½ carat.
And you lost it?
Yes, ma'am. When I moved out of Miss McLaurin's house, in the process of moving, I lost the rings.
So you have to pay for it?
Honestly, I don't think the ring was worth $1,500.
How do we know?
Just, it didn't seem like it was all that when I've seen it.
Well, Mr. Hoffman, the reason you told me you took the ring is because you wanted to teach her responsibility and not leaving it around. I assume that you would not have taken the ring if the ring wasn't worth very much. What difference did it make if she left it around? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, the point was, when we were together, she'd always leave the engagement ring that I've given her. She'd always leave it around. Instead of wearing it, she'd leave it on top of the microwave or on the counter. It just never where it's supposed to be. I wanted to teach her a lesson, but I never intended.
Okay, so you taught her a very pricey lesson. You have to pay for the ring. Now let's talk about the car. You had an accident while you were driving in her car. After you had already broken up, you were driving your daughter someplace?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the accident, Mr. Hoffman.
She wanted me to get my daughter's haircut, which I said fine. We didn't want to change the car seat out, which I didn't have the car seat in my car at the time. So
you didn't have a car seat in your car.
Mm-hmm.
She did.
Yes.
So?
We decided to exchange cars. She said, just take my car, and I'll borrow yours. She went to Walmart. I went to go get my daughter's haircut. Got her haircut. On the way back to her house, 2 minutes away from her driveway, I ended up rear-ending another person.
So why aren't you responsible for the damage?
Well, I don't think I'm responsible for the damage just because for the entire time that I've known Ms. McLaurin, she hasn't worked. I took care of her. I paid the bills. Even after we broke up, I paid some of the bills for her to help her out.
That's good.
Yes, and also after we split up, I was paying child support, and if she needed anything extra, I would try to help out with it.
Well, that's nice, but you have to pay child support because you have a child. Who's supposed to pay child support for your child? Me?
I'm not
Bert?
saying
He's
nothing
got his own
about,
children.
I'm not saying nothing about
So,
child
and
support.
if you gave her something extra because you had extra, that was very nice of you. You don't have to do that. You have to pay for the car because you had an accident. It was your fault. How much was the car?
I have estimates.
What's the cheapest estimate?
$1172.03.
Show it to him. Got it, Mr. Hoffman?
Yes, ma'am.
Got to pay $1,500 for the rings and a
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Davis, Mr. Dorval used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore. I think you lived together for a period of time as well. According to your complaints, he owes you for a whole bunch of things, whole menu. He owes you for having him arrested falsely, causing you to have to post bail. You spent time in jail. He damaged your car, and he had a temper tantrum, that he has some of your property, that you lost money when you were incarcerated. You want him to pay all that stuff. Mr. Dorval says that you brought all this on yourself, that you did, in fact, assault him. He called the police. You were arrested. You brought that on by yourself. In addition to that, he wants damages for the assault. He wants damage for the emotional pain that he suffered as a result of you slapping him in the face, and his glasses that you broke.
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. Who are these people?
This is my sister and my brother. They were there when I supposedly slapped him.
Okay. How long did you live together?
As soon as I turned 18, so about a year.
And where had you been living?
At my parents' house.
When did you have the argument?
The one where I slapped him, that one, or?
The one where, let's start with the one where you slapped him.
The one where you slapped
where
him,
I supposedly slapped him. Okay, I broke up with him on the 5th.
5th of what?
Of January, the beginning of this year.
Okay.
And he drove my car off a cliff. And he told me to get out of the car or else he'd throw my stuff over the side of the road. You
were in a car when you broke up with him?
Yes. He then asked me, so does this mean it's over? I said yes. He said, well, watch this then. He drove my car off the side of the road, and a tow truck had to come and get it. But I did not want to talk to him, so I walked down the street, and I had to hitchhike my way back to the house. And then on the 14th
of what? She took my car when she went back to my house.
That's the 5th. That's when you broke up with him?
That was when I broke up with him. On January 14th is when he said that I slapped him. January 14th, I was at the gym working out with my sister. He came to the gym and asked me to go out there. I went outside and talked to him, and he wanted to have a CD player back that I bought him for Christmas. And it was in my car that I have, because that's the car that I was letting him drive. So he wanted $250.
What happened to the car that went off the road?
No, there was no damage to it. But that's the car that went off the road. And the CD player was in that car. He wanted $250 for it, so I went to my house. I decided to just give him the money so he would leave me alone. And my sister and my brother were there, and they saw that I did not touch him at all. I didn't even argue with him. I gave him the money and some DVDs that he wanted. About 20 minutes later, I had the cops at my house asking me questions, and they arrested me. I was in jail for about 9.5 hours.
Well, what property do you think that he has that belongs to you?
On the 21st of January, they served him the restraining order that I got against him.
So you got a restraining order against him for what?
Because he has hit me before, and I was afraid.
Well, when is before? So far, between the 5th of January and the 21st of January, I haven't heard of when he...
I have it right here on paper.
Can I see it?
This is the restraining... Oh, sorry. This is the restraining order that was served to me. My bad.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's her words of what went on in our relationship. May I say something?
Shh.
All right.
You didn't tell me that between the 5th, when this thing happened, when he drove your car off the road, and the 14th, that you went to the beach with him.
He asked...
What do you mean, you went to the beach with him, we stopped at a 7-Eleven, and Josh fell down and started shaking. He broke his glasses and watch when he fell down. Somebody called 911, and an ambulance came and took him to the hospital. Is that what happened, Josh?
No.
Look at me. Did you go to the hospital on the 10th of January? Very easy to check.
No.
You did not?
No.
Did an ambulance come for you?
On which day? No, which day of the month?
Let's try between January 5th and January 14th. Did an ambulance pick you up?
Yes, with her. She was with me that day, yeah.
Uncross your hands. Well, tell me under what circumstances the ambulance came to get you.
Well, apparently I don't know what happened, but I guess I passed out and I went to the hospital.
Oh, well, she says it happened on the 10th. So why did you say no?
It may have been the 10th. I'm not sure exactly what day
So
it was.
then my question is, why did you say no?
I wasn't sure what day you were talking about.
Then you say, I'm not sure of the date. You don't say...
Yes, that happened, but that's not when my glasses broke at all.
Okay.
And she did agree to go to the beach with me that day after she said she broke up with me and everything. And
I see.
And it says in May 2004 that I assaulted her, and she always came back.
Try to be quiet.
All right.
Until I ask you a question. Miss Davis, this is your sister?
Yeah, it is.
You were at your boyfriend's house on the 14th. You weren't at your house on the 14th.
Yeah,
Actually, nothing. Actually, your sister says here in a sworn statement that you didn't see anything that happened between the two of them on the 14th because you went home with her and went to your boyfriend's house across the street. She was inside with your father. And your brother Is that what you say?
Yes, my brother was standing at the door watching
Brother was saying,
everything.
but your sister wasn't there. According to you, she went inside to her boyfriend's house across the street.
She was standing across the street. We both have screen doors.
Yeah.
She was standing across the street.
Listen to me. That's baloney. You got to get your story straight.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've never touched him.
Is that why
His
you went to the beach
glasses-
with me on the 10th?
Listen! What part of keep your mouth shut unless I ask you a question don't you understand?
And later today,
She was very angry, and she said that this was a scam and that she just didn't think her dog would do anything like that, and that she knew the friendship was at stake, but that she wasn't going to let me scam her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brandy Davis says ex-boyfriend Joshua Dorval had her arrested for slapping him in the face. She's also suing for the return of her belongings and for damage to her car.
What happened with this request for a protective order?
I didn't go to the hearing, but apparently
Why
it's in
not?
effect for a year.
Well, that was pretty dumb of you.
A restraining order is to
Because-
keep somebody away. If I don't want to see her anyways, then it's not really that much of a problem.
Oh, sure there is, sir. Because when you make a request for a protective order, there's nothing that the courts can do other than issue the protective order. But if there is a protective order, and if somehow they find that you violate it, let's say you inadvertently go into a store and she's there and she feels as if you are following her. She calls the police and says he's violated this order because he's come within 50 feet of me. Then they pick you up, and that's contempt. So a protective order does have its consequences, so that was pretty dumb of you not to go to court and to just let it ride. Do you have a very busy practice? Do you have a very busy schedule? You have a job that works you 18 hours a day, something that precluded you perhaps from going to court?
No, but I figured that they would put it in effect anyways, even if I was there or not, just by the statement she made to them.
That's not necessarily true, sir. I haven't heard that explanation for failing to go to court. Ridiculous. Tell me about what happened, sir, on the 14th.
Brandy called Brandy called me and asked me to come down and pick up the rest of my things from her house so she wouldn't have to talk to me anymore or see me. Like she said, she was at the gym with her sister. I went to the gym. She came outside with me and talked. She went back in and got her sister. They got in her sister's truck, and I followed them to the house. She told me to follow them. I parked outside. She told me to wait in her front yard. She went in the house, got the DVDs, got the $250 that she was giving me back. Once I got the DVDs, I asked her, there was more movies of mine that she didn't bring out, and I was asking her where they were, and we got into an argument. I told her to F off, and I went to walk away, and that's when she hit me across the face and broke my glasses right here. Busted the screw right off of them, and they skidded across the concrete and scratched both lenses up. I got in my car, drove away, and I called the police like 5 minutes later. And they don't take people to jail for nothing.
What hospital were you taken to for your injuries?
I did not go to the hospital.
What doctor did you see for
I
your
didn't
injuries?
see a doctor. She's a woman. She got bailed out, and the DA apparently said there wasn't enough cause, or they dropped the charges from what I understand.
Your
But she
Honor?
still went to jail.
The story he told you is not true. I didn't call him. He was calling me 20 to 30 times every day after I broke up with him. I've never touched him.
Is that why
His
you went to the beach
glasses-
with me on the 10th?
Listen! What part of keep your mouth shut unless I ask you a question don't you understand?
I understand now.
His glasses broke when he had a seizure at the beach.
Why'd you go to the beach with him for?
I told him that I could try to be his friend, and that was about it. I told him there was not going to be anything else but
Why
that.
would you want to go to the beach with somebody to try to be a friend with somebody who clearly is not playing with a full deck?
I
Who's
don't know.
calling you 20 or 30 times a day?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Not very smart.
No, it was not.
Okay, step up. You are the brother.
Yes.
You were at the house on the 14th?
Yes, I was.
Did your sister and Mr. Dorval have an argument?
It wasn't really an argument. They called saying they were coming home from working out, and they walked up onto the grass where he says, "Give me some of my DVDs." So she comes inside, gets the money, gets the DVDs, goes out. She has her hands like this ever since once she gave them the DVDs. Then she walked away, and he's like, "Brandy, wait, I want more DVDs. Let me go inside and see to get more DVDs." And she's like, "No, leave me alone. Get out of my life." Then that's when she walked in the house, and he just stood there. Then he walked away. She did not once lift her hand to hit him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
You were bending down and she was jumping up.
Well, it was a freaky accident. We were in the same place at the same time.
That's right. It was a freaky
accident.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brandy Davis says ex-boyfriend Joshua Dorval had her arrested for slapping him in the face. She's also suing for the return of her belongings and for damage to her car.
I don't understand why you called the police. I don't.
No, I heard you.
I don't understand, sir.
Because
why
if I
you
would have
called
done
the
that to
police.
her, I guarantee she would have called the police.
Listen to me. So, this is someone that you shared an intimate relationship with for a year. And what you're telling me is she, according to you, she slapped you.
Oh, that's not the
Now
first
listen to
time.
me. According to you, on this day when she said, I don't want to see you anymore, here's $250, I want you out of my life, here are your DVDs, I don't want to see you anymore, here's money, go, get lost, have a happy life. And according to you, things then get angry, she slaps you, and you leave. And you decide that you are injured enough to pick up the phone and call the police to have her arrested. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Good. Because what she did was against the law.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all. On your counterclaim, it's dismissed. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was great. I don't think he deserves any money or anything. Everything he did was wrong.
She's mad. I don't know. She's an angry woman.
I was scared of him. I didn't ever want to be with him again.
She's just blowing everything up. Trying to make me look bad, I guess.
He robbed me yesterday. He went into the mall and stole my purse and ran away.
We're both acting silly, I guess.
I am afraid he might come back to me, but I hope I have an end to it.
If it was meant to be, I wouldn't be on Judge Judy right now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mosley versus Gray. Step forward, please.
Marketing director Patricia Mosley is suing her former friend, nail technician Shar Gray, for the cost to fix a broken tooth. Patricia says Shar's Boston Terrier, Molly, headbutted her.
Miss Mosley, according to your claim, the defendant's dog, I assume that little dog over there, broke your tooth. You want her to compensate you for your dental bills.
Yes.
And then some. Miss Gray filed an answer. I read the answer very thoroughly. And bottom line is, she thinks you're full of baloney.
Yes.
How do you know her?
I've known Shar for about 10 years. She's done my nails the majority of that time. I've known her quite well. We've shared our lives.
And you have your nails done at her home?
Yes.
So the incident that involved her dog happened at her home?
Yes.
Well, tell me when that happened.
The 18th of October.
And you've been to her home before?
Yes.
And her dog is there? And you've played with the dog
Her
before.
dog and I are friends.
So what happened when you arrived?
She was doing another client, and the three of us were sitting there talking and joking, and Molly was bouncing around. And
that's Molly?
That's Molly. And I got up to go wash my hands to get ready for Shar to do my nails, and I was sitting on a small, low bench, and as I leaned over to get up, Molly came up at the same time into my face, and the top of her head hit the front of my tooth. And I felt and heard it snap, and I knew instantly what had happened, and I got up and did go into the bathroom and looked at my tooth. And
is this a natural tooth?
It is a natural tooth under a crown.
Which tooth?
It is the left front.
So that you could see the crown crack when you looked at your at your mouth?
Yes, I could see and feel it.
So what happened when you came out of the bathroom?
So I said to Shar, can we reschedule this appointment? I've got another appointment, and I'll leave, and we'll just reschedule.
Why didn't you tell her that the dog had hit you in the mouth?
Because she had a client sitting there. I was just upset because I knew that tooth was coming out any minute. I just wanted to get out of there.
When the dog hit you in the mouth, did you cry out?
I said at the time.
Now, I'm asking you, did you cry out? I mean, there are other people.
I didn't scream, no.
Well, that's a great deal of force that it would take to crack a porcelain crown that is around metal.
That's true.
And your tooth.
Well, it wasn't around metal. It was a porcelain crown, but it was around my natural tooth, which had been ground to a perfection to hold the tooth.
I'm the daughter of a dentist. I understand exactly what it is. But that's a great deal of pressure that it takes.
Yes, but I was going down and Molly was coming up at the same time.
Right. So one might assume that you hit Molly.
Well, we were in the same place at the same time.
Right. You were bending down and she was jumping up.
Well, it was a freaky accident. We were in the same place at the same time.
That's right. It was a freaky
accident.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were bending down. Molly was doing what dogs do, which is jumping around. And according to your own testimony, Miss Mosley, you just said to me it was a freaky accident. So I want to know is why do you think that that entitles you to sue?
Because I felt like under the circumstances that Shar and I could have reached an agreement as to how to handle it. When she called me the morning on my way to the dentist and I told her about it, she was really annoyed. And I said, I'll call you back after I go to the dentist so I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And then when I called her back, she'd had time, I guess, to mull the situation over. She was very angry. And she said that this was a scam and that she just didn't think her dog would do anything like that and that she knew the friendship was at stake, but that she wasn't going to let me scam her.
Miss Mosley, what would your position have been if you bent down at the time Molly jumped up and you broke Molly's tooth?
I would have been very concerned.
Would you have paid for the vet bill?
In all probability, I certainly would have participated in it.
I'm not sure. Because I think what you believe is because it happened in her home and because this is her dog, she's responsible. It's an accident, Miss Mosley. Not every accident requires a jurisprudential intervention. Whether or not the tooth that is cracked, the crown that's cracked, would have had to be replaced anyway because the force that you're talking about is a great deal of force. And certainly the defendant, according to you, didn't know that you had been injured that day. Is that right?
Right.
Because there were three of you, at least. You, your other client, and you. Nobody heard you scream out. Nobody heard you cry out. You didn't come out of the bathroom. You didn't ask for a piece of ice. Nothing. You left.
I wanted to get out of there before my tooth came out.
Listen, that's very easy to say. It's as easy to say, my mouth was just hurt by your dog, I think I'm losing my tooth, than it is to say, could we please reschedule my appointment? I have another appointment. Takes the same amount of time.
Well, my hindsight was probably 20/20.
Well, hindsight is 20/20. Accidents happen. Pay for your own tooth. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Party guys, you may step out.
You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Hannock, according to your complaint, you and Miss Walters knew each other and entered into a joint business venture.
Correct.
And the business venture was as follows. Miss Walters would provide the funds and materials, and you would provide the labor in making Mardi Gras masks that were going to be sold this past year at Mardi Gras. In exchange for your labor, your agreement was that you were to be paid a certain amount per mask at the point that the mask was sold, which was $10. Correct?
Yes.
And how many masks were you supposed to make?
We were trying to make 1,500 masks.
And then there came a point when Miss Walters, according to you, said she no longer required your services for one reason or another. At that point, Miss Walters said, I'm only going to give you $2 per mask.
Yes.
Your Honor, that is incorrect. Completely incorrect, because we never talked about a set amount.
That's what she says.
She's incorrect.
And you had completed 275 masks?
Yes.
And she gave you $100?
Yes.
That's also incorrect. I have receipts.
So at that point, you say she owed you $550. She gave you $100, leaving a balance of $450.
Right.
Then you say she didn't pay you the $450, so now you're suing her for the entire amount.
Yes.
Which is, whatever, $2,500.
Yes.
Ms. Walters says that the work that you performed was substandard. You had a lousy work ethic. She is counterclaiming for the losses she incurred as a result of you not completing the work in a timely fashion and in a substandard fashion. That's her counterclaim. Okay. When did you enter into this business arrangement with Ms. Walters?
It was in August of last year.
And how did you know her?
We met March of last year. I hired her to make a pair of leather moccasin boots. I ended up working with her on and off, apprenticing for about 2 months.
Okay, so that's how you knew her. And the arrangement, I think that you both agree on, that you were supposed to make 1,500 masks, that you were going to be paid $10 a piece at the point of sale. Was that
That is not correct. We were going to split half of the net profit after expenses, because some of these masks
just
would
a
have
second.
only been $10.
Just a second. So you say your agreement was that you were going to split the profits 50-50.
After the costs.
You invested a certain amount in materials.
An extreme amount in materials.
Okay. When did you start working on the masks?
I arrived back in town on November 12th.
Where had you been?
I was out east doing another job managing a Renaissance booth. And
How long did you think it was going to take you to make these masks? Mardi Gras is sometime in January, is that right?
February.
February?
Yeah.
February.
We agreed that we could probably get it done within 2 or 3 months' time.
Your Honor, I've been making these masks.
At what point did Miss Walters tell you she didn't want you to work anymore?
I left for Christmas. It was December 28th, I believe, is when I got back. And I talked to her on the phone, and she said she was having a change of heart. She needed a few days to think about it. So I gave her a few days. I came back into the shop, and she said that she had already hired somebody else to go to Mardi Gras, and she didn't want me to go.
Okay, Miss Hannock.
Yeah.
Between November and December,
Yeah.
you had made 275 masks.
Yes.
2 months.
Yes.
Then you had, at most, 1 more month to make 1,200 masks.
Yes.
How did you plan on doing that, my dear?
Well, see, that's the thing.
That's my question.
Most of November, there were no materials. I got back November 12th. She had half a skin. I made 54 masks out of that. She did not order any more materials until November 30th. And I was pressing her. I was like, you know, we have a lot to do. I have a lot of work to do. I can't work if there's nothing to work on.
Shh, just a second. When did you leave for Christmas?
I left on the 23rd.
At the last minute?
If you interrupt again, I'm going to rule against you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is not a tea party. So she's going to have an opportunity to tell me her side of the story. Then it's going to be your turn. So you're going to have to learn to control yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the second time you said yes, Your Honor. Third time, you're out of here. Do you understand? Good. And that means your counterclaim is dismissed, and that means that she will be successful. Understood? Good. Okay. Now I forgot where I was. Do you remember where I was?
I have no idea.
Ah. Somebody put a period. Okay. So far, I have 275 masks completed at the time when she said, I don't need your help anymore.
Yeah.
And how much do these masks sell for?
About $20 at the cheapest.
Is that correct?
That is not correct. Okay. The base price is $10.
Can I see an example of some of the masks that she completed? Is that one? Can I see it, please? And is this the condition which she turned it in?
Oh, yes.
Is that correct?
I don't know that that's my work.
It is.
Okay, well, if you don't know and she's saying it is, then I have to assume that it is. Can I see an example of finished work that you think is quality work? Because that's one of your complaints.
Would you like me to take it off? I
Yes.
brought this one purposely because it is the most simplest design. It doesn't have a lot of abstract work. But if you'll notice, I brought the template.
Can I please see a couple of other examples of what she turned into you?
We actually used this one as the poster child after Allie was gone for what not to do.
Little Phantom of the Opera.
Well, it's not supposed to be the Phantom of the Opera. It does look like half a mask, though, doesn't it?
Okay. I see that some of these are finished with this in it.
Yes, the straps go on very last because they don't get the straps on until after I color them.
I see. So it was your responsibility to color them, her responsibility to prepare these.
That was just the beginning of her responsibility. To receive half of the net profit, I have with me a 16-step process which includes and is not limited to just the tracing and the molding of these masks. It goes on for 18 more steps.
Well, I have only so many good years left in my life, so I'm not interested in reading your 16 pages. All I want to know is, when she turned in the masks, what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
I said to her that I had a change of heart, that I could not trust her with all of these masks to go to New Orleans. She was incompetent, and that I would be willing to give her $2 a mask for the masks that she produced. That was before I inspected them all. Once I inspected them, I realized they weren't worth $2 a mask.
When did you tell her that?
That was sometime in January.
Okay. You're stuck. You're stuck with $2.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had to pay to get her out of hock from her last job. This particular
Just a
check.
second. I don't know.
Then the next check.
You're not paying
I'm sorry.
attention to me. Don't have your own agenda. My agenda is the only one that counts.
And later today,
Ms. Valladares had some alcohol drinks.
She's drunk. And you saw no sharp objects in her hand?
No, I did not search Ms. Valladares. I don't know what happened.
I don't know either.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Allison Hannock says her former business partner, Deborah Walters, never paid her for making leather Mardi Gras masks. Deborah says the masks were of poor quality.
Now, at what point do you allege that she gave you $100?
It was probably like the second week of January.
Tell me under what circumstances she gave you the $100.
Well, we had the conversation after I went to the shop, and she offered me $2, and I was like, well, I want to see something for all the work I've done. I went a week after that, and she gave me the $100. I just walked into the store, she handed me the check, and I walked out. She had said that she would have to pay me $100 a week, because that was her financial budget. I tried to contact her the next week, couldn't get a hold of her, and then finally when I got a hold of her, it was after Mardi Gras, and she had said, well, you know, Mardi Gras didn't go as well as I had hoped, so I don't feel that I have to pay you anything.
Okay. Ms. Walters, I believe you when you say that this was going to be a joint venture. You probably had the conversation of, we'll split the profits 50-50 after my expenses. However, there was a settlement, and the settlement was when you broke up this joint venture that you would be paid $2 a mask for the work that you did in fact complete. So that's not $2,500, that's $450 because she gave you $100. Now you have a counterclaim. I want you to explain the counterclaim to me, and I don't want you to go into the amount of money that you lost as a result of her poor workmanship, because as far as I'm concerned, you had these masks in your possession. You had an opportunity to inspect them. You made an agreement with her, despite the fact that you say, well, after I looked at them, I saw that they weren't worth $2 a piece. You made the arrangement. If you made a bad arrangement, that's not her fault. Now, you have another part of your counterclaim, and that is that you advanced her some money.
Yes, I did. I have
that I want to hear.
Well, I had to pay her rent for her to be able to stay in town.
Just a second. Tell me about the conversation where she said she needed rent money.
Immediately upon getting into town on the 12th, as she said, she owed the person who she worked for before, red flag, $300, and I had to pay basically to get her out of hock from her last job for $300. That's this particular
Just
check.
a second. I don't understand.
Then the next check.
You're not listening. You're not paying attention to me. Don't have your own agenda. My agenda is the only one that counts. I don't understand. I had to get her out of hock from her last job. That's a conclusion. What did she say to you, and what did you say to her?
She said, I owe him $300. I need to pay him. This will be a draw from our Mardi Gras fund at the end.
What was the $300 for?
She paid me $300, but she paid me, I worked a Renaissance fair with her. She paid me $75 a day for each day. It was 3 days. And she was paying me $8 an hour to work in her store on all of these projects that she had to get done.
I never had her as an employee in my store.
The reason she's saying that is because I never filled out any W-2s.
Okay. How come from December until now you didn't file a claim against her for this $300?
I was not planning on suing her. I was going to eat my losses, but once she brought me to court, I feel that it's only fair. If she wants to sue me for half of the profits, she should be responsible for half of the loss.
Well, she's not going to be responsible for half the loss. Is that what you wanted to pay for? She's not responsible for half the loss.
Well,
you
that's
settled with
what
her.
my counterclaim is.
I thought your counterclaim encompassed these loans that you made for her. If you say not?
My counterclaim is for $2,100 to try to recoup some of my losses.
Okay. Ms. Walters, then you make my job much easier. If what you're suing for is for half your losses, what I have found is the two of you settled whatever business venture this was when you agreed to pay her $2 a mask and she agreed to accept that amount. And that's the only thing that I'm hearing. I'm not hearing her request for triple that amount based upon what she could have made, and I'm not hearing your counterclaim for half your losses because she didn't do the job to your satisfaction. So I'm entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450, which represents the amount due and owing to her on your settlement for $2 a mask. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
She came into Prescott after being gone for a while, and it was party time.
Oh, that's not true at all. I was working very hard.
Judge Judy rocks.
I really like Judge Judy. She's pretty cool.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez versus Valladares, step forward, please.
25-year-old nurse's aide, Karina Lopez, is suing her former friend, 27-year-old nursing attendant, City of Valladares, for ripping the seat of her car. Karina says the incident took place during a night of drinking and clubbing.
Ms. Lopez, on the 15th of January, you, the defendant, and a bunch of other friends decided to go clubbing. You met at somebody's house. According to you, the defendant started to drink. She also took some medication. She said she had a headache. She got very drunk. You went to the club. You drove in your car. The defendant tried to get into the club, and she was denied entrance to the club because, according to, I think, both of you, she was too drunk. They wouldn't let her in. So you put her in your car.
Right.
To sleep it off, and you went in with your friends to the club. And when you came out of the club, you found the defendant still in your car, and the seat in the car was cut. She says she doesn't remember doing anything to your car and doesn't know how that damage occurred. Do you have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karina Lopez claims during a night of drinking, former friend City of Valladares ruined the upholstery in her car.
Now, is this on the front passenger seat or the rear
front passenger seat?
Is that the seat that she was sitting with driving to the club?
No.
Who was sitting in that passenger seat?
Miss Howard.
That's this lady?
Yes.
Okay. When she exited the car, what time was it?
Miss Howard, it was 10:30.
At night?
Right.
Dark?
Yes.
And you didn't examine the car when she left?
No.
Did you examine the car before she got into the car at 10:30?
Yes.
You looked in the car seat? Don't say anything that's not true. If you say anything that's not true, I will hold that suspect. If something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Do you understand?
Yes.
Where did you find Miss Valladares?
Yes.
When you came back to the car 2.5 hours later, where was she seated?
In the front passenger seat.
And what was she doing?
Sleeping.
Did you see any sharp objects in her hand?
No.
Did you see what had caused the damage to the car?
No.
Did anyone see what had caused the damage to the car?
No.
So how do you intend to prove that the defendant caused the damage to the car?
Well,
This looks like a tear. Looks like something got caught on it. That's what it looks like. It looks like something got caught on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to prove that she did it?
Well, before leaving for the club, Ms. Valladares and I met at Ms. Howard's residence, where Ms. Valladares had some alcohol drinks.
She's drunk. I've already laid the framework. She was drunk. You knew she was drunk. You went to the club. They wouldn't let her in. You put her in the car. You came out. She was still sitting, according to you, in the front seat of the car. And later on, you noticed the car was ripped.
As we helped Ms. Valladares exit the car, that's when I realized that it was a tear on the seat.
And you saw no sharp objects in her hand?
No. I did not search Ms. Valladares. I don't know what happened. All I know is that the tear was not there.
No, all you know is the tear was not there when she got into the car.
Right. Ms. Valladares was also experiencing a lot of pain. The reason why she took the pain reliever is because she had gotten her tongue pierced the previous day.
What does that have to do with? What does that have to do
well,
with
I'm assuming that maybe she was in a lot of pain, and I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know how it happened. Neither do you.
Your Honor, may I come up?
Sure.
When we went to drop off Cyria to the car when Cyria let her inside the club, the tear wasn't there.
You don't know that at all.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I helped Karina put her
You don't know that
car.
at all. Madam, listen to me. 10:30 at night. It's dark. She's
dark.
getting into the car. You're struggling to get somebody who's drunk in the car. Don't lie. Miss Valladares says that you took her property and refused to give her back her property, her pocketbook, her keys, her cell phone, unless she agreed to pay for this. Did you do that?
No, Your Honor. Ms. Valladares left her property behind in my car. She called me later on the following day and said she would come by and pick up her belongings. She never showed up. On the 17th, I offered to deliver her belongings to her. She said she had a lot of things to do and was going to be unavailable that day. On the 22nd, when I finally seen her, I delivered all her belongings to her.
Were the police called at any point?
Yes.
Did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Police contact you?
Yes.
They told you you had to give her property back?
No, they contacted me because the police officer said that Ms. Valladares feared for her safety at work. That's what I was told.
At that point, did you give her back her property?
On the 22nd, when I
Just
finally
answer
seen
my
her.
question. After the police spoke to you, did you give her back her property?
No, they didn't ask for it, and they did not want to take possession of her property. I offered to give her property to the police officer because I was unable to contact Ms. Valladares.
Okay. Get a patch for the seat, madam. You cannot establish that, to my satisfaction, that she caused the damage to your car, and you have no right.
32 on the calendar in the matter of Rebetter versus Griffin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Rebetter, the defendant was your landlord.
Yes.
How long had you lived in an apartment that he owned?
I lived there from October the 10th to February the 12th or the 13th. I'm not sure about that.
And what date did Mr. Griffin tell you you had to move?
Like maybe the last week of January, that last Sunday.
About 2 weeks before.
Yes, that'll be.
And it is your claim that he evicted you because you had declined his sexual advances.
Yes,
that
that's
he
correct.
was sexually harassing you.
Yes, that's correct.
Forced you to move.
Yes.
And kept some of your food and property. when
Yes, that's correct.
you moved. Mr. Griffin says that is certainly not true. Those allegations are in retaliation for his telling you you had to move. And he told you you had to move because your fiancé moved in with you. Your fiancé was a paroled sex offender. He received complaints from other neighbors because the police sent flyers around indicating that your fiancé was now living with you. And he did tell you that you had to move, that he neither harassed you in any way, nor did he take any of your property. Now, did you have a lease with Mr. Griffin?
No, ma'am, we did not have a lease.
Is there any reason why you didn't have a lease?
Well, we didn't have a lease because he just said that, you know, we didn't need a lease.
So you were a month-to-month tenant, which means you can move out at any time. You have no responsibility beyond the month's tenancy. And he can tell you to leave as long as he gives you a certain amount of time to leave.
Okay.
Right? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, I do understand that.
Okay, good.
But my thing was, when we first moved there, I paid Mr. Griffin $1,050 for 3 months, and everything was okay.
So the $1,050 was for 3 months' rent?
Yes, yes.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. So you're paying $350 a month?
Yes.
So you're paid up until January, and you lived there during the month of January?
Yes, we did.
Okay. February, you did not pay rent?
No, we didn't pay rent because he started with the harassment where he was going to call the police on my fiance just to get me out, because the thing was, he was upset with me because, like I said, even though he wants to deny it, I know what the truth is. He sat there and he would harass me. He would come into the apartment. First of all, he would come in all the time without letting me know. Just come in. I got to fix something, and nothing would never get fixed. Secondly, when he, around Christmas time is when the harassment really started, because we were in contact a lot, because I stayed in the back house and he stayed in the front, and I was getting packages, for Christmas things or whatever. And when he would bring me my Christmas packages, he would, say things like, "Baby, you sure look good, too bad you gay." Or he would say things like, "I'd take you away from your man and make you mine." And I just couldn't understand, this older gentleman coming at me like this when I've never, been out of line with him. I've never disrespected the guy or anything. He just would come on to me like this, telling me about his sex life. I don't want to know that. I have a fiance.
Well, tell me what he said to you about his sex life.
That he's, well, I'm not going to curse, but he would say that, yeah, I got a 21-year-old that I'm still F you, And I'm like, so? That's not my business, and I never once...
So he was telling you about another girlfriend?
Yeah, no, not really girlfriends. He would call him his, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Not whatever. What did he say?
He would say his, yeah, I got it, But that's irrelevant because, like I said, that's not my place. I don't care what you have. All I'm doing is here paying my rent.
Let's get on with it. What else?
Basically, that was, that sexual harassment, and then coming to my house, coming in and out whenever he wanted to.
You want to say something to me?
Nothing she says is true. Not anything.
I'm not impressed with anything she said.
Well, I'm not trying to
I'm not
impress,
impressed with
no.
anything she said.
I'm not trying to
At
impress
worst,
you. I'm
at
just
worst,
telling you the truth.
if I believed what you said, that's not sexual harassment. I want to steal you away from your boyfriend. Probably wishes he could.
Yeah, but I mean,
now listen to me. How old are you?
34.
I guarantee you, you've heard in your lifetime a lot worse. My dear, a lot worse.
Yeah, but not
and a lot worse,
nobody.
and you haven't gone to court about it.
No, I haven't
Good.
because, okay, excuse me. Now, back to my property, my things coming up missing. I don't think that's right. I never went in his house and took anything. I never, you know,
Well,
moved
what's
in.
missing and what makes you think he took it?
Because he moved his daughter into our place when my stuff was still there.
When?
Around February
February what?
1st. February 1st.
No, he couldn't have moved your daughter in. Listen
Yes.
to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. He couldn't have moved anybody in there because you swore to me not more than 5 minutes ago that you didn't leave until February 12th or 13th.
Excuse me. It is another room in the in where I occupy, and he did move his daughter in there, and she began to threaten me. That's why I'm saying the harassment came in at, like...
that has nothing to do with him. If somebody else is harassing you, that has
no,
nothing to do with him.
but I mean, you know, yes, it is. It does have a lot to do with him because he's the one who told his daughter to harass me. And he even called his other daughter to come in and throw my stuff out in the rain. And if that's not harassment, I don't know what is.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is not the great American giveaway, madam. That's not what courts are all about. If you have a legitimate case of sexual harassment, you file it. This amounts to nonsense.
And later today,
Did you buy another vehicle?
We purchased another vehicle,
Who's
yes.
we?
My husband and I.
Miss Dodd, that's not fair.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Rebetter says her former landlord, Robert Griffin, evicted her after she turned down his sexual advances.
Did you pay rent for February?
No, I did not pay rent for February.
You had no right to be there after February 1st if you didn't pay rent.
My rent wasn't up until February 10th.
Good, then you had no right to be there until at February 11th, 12th, or 13th. You were still there. You had no right to be there. You don't pay rent, you're a squatter. He can take your stuff, he can throw it in the sewer. I don't know what gives people the right to think that they can live in a premises and not pay rent.
No, I never said that. But
Good.
I mean, once the man was threatening me and
I didn't hear any threats. Now I hear threats. What kind of threats? You didn't tell me any threats before. That he wants to take you away from your boyfriend?
No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about the threats with his daughters.
I don't care about the daughters. Talking about, that's the defendant. That's the one standing here. This is not the great American giveaway, madam. That's not what courts are all about. If you have a legitimate case of sexual harassment, you file it. This amounts to nonsense. You didn't pay rent. He told you to move. You didn't have a lease. He gave you notice, the same kind of notice that you could give him if you found another place that you wanted to go to, right? Had no lease. That's what happened. You're 34 years old. You know what a lease is? You know what a lease is not. Have you ever signed a lease on an apartment?
Yes.
Have you stayed there for the full term of the lease?
Yes.
You know what would happen to you if you left before the lease was up?
Yeah.
What would happen?
You'd get in trouble.
Well, they could sue you because you have a contract.
Okay.
You don't have a contract with him. He doesn't have to allow you to stay in his house. If he had any problem with your fiancé and with other people complaining about your fiancé, he has the right.
But that's not the truth. See, wasn't nobody complaining about my fiancé.
How do you know that?
Because I lived on the same street. We lived there. Did nobody ever complain about my fiancé? Nobody even
Can I see a copy of the notice that was sent out by the police, please?
This is one of the latest notices. That's one of the latest one made. This is the notice by the police. This is
Okay, this is a registered sex offender advisory. You are Dwayne Cedric Edwards, is that you? Okay, and you got this notice?
Yes, ma'am.
Or somebody gave it to you?
They put them out all in the neighborhood.
This is why he says.
And that's not the truth. That's not the
It
truth.
may be,
though.
it may not be. I don't find your testimony credible that the reason he evicted you was because he made sexual advances to you that while your boyfriend was living with you, that you rebuffed. This was causing him difficulty.
But that's
you were
not
causing
the
him
truth.
difficulty. You did not pay February's rent. When you got what you bargained for, goodbye, good luck, and have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Sir.
When she called me, she was sleeping in a car on 55th Street. She didn't have no place to stay.
Mr. Mack is a liar, and he know that the reason why he put us out, he know why it ain't had nothing to do with Dwayne.
I never even looked at that girl. He kept her locked up in the room so tight, I didn't even know she was there half the time.
He's standing his old butt over there smirking, and he need to be socked upside his head somewhere.
I had 3 people complaining about the things he was doing, knocking on doors, peeping in the bathroom.
He a jerk. He just a jerk. He a old jerk.
After all this commotion coming about him peeping in doorways and doing things I won't say on TV, standing in front of the bathroom and doing, I won't say that. I had to get him out of there.
God don't like ugly. That's all I'm gonna say.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Escobedo versus Dodd, step forward, please.
Administrative assistant Lisa Escobedo is suing her former friend, social worker Mary Dodd, for loans to buy a truck and to hire an attorney. Mary claims she paid Lisa back.
Miss Escobedo, you and Miss Dodd used to be very good friends.
Yes,
Your
sir.
lawsuit has 2 parts to it. First, you say that you took out a loan for a truck. That was her truck.
Correct.
She didn't have good credit. The arrangement was she would make the payments faithfully, and as soon as the payments were completed, the title, etc., would be turned over to her. And that was a couple of years ago.
Yes.
She did make the payments faithfully until just recently.
Correct.
And then she stopped making payments on the truck. You repossessed the truck, and now you want her to pay what is the balance owed on the truck.
Not entirely, I mean, because it's $12,000 and it's only small claims court, but actually that's the debt that I was left with, absolutely.
The second part of your lawsuit claims a loan to her for an attorney.
Correct.
And Ms. Dodd says with regard to that part of the loan, she does acknowledge that there was a loan.
Yes,
and she said that she faithfully paid you, I think, $100 a month.
Yeah, $100.
Which I assume you're going to be able to demonstrate to me.
Yes, Your Honor, I have checks.
And that the loan is paid off.
Yes.
So let's deal with the easy part first. Let's deal with the loan for an attorney. When did you make that loan?
April 2nd of 2003.
And how much was that loan?
$1,195.64.
Okay, so I want to see from you checks in the amount of $1,195.64 for the attorney.
There was actually one check that wasn't faxed to me from the bank.
Are these in order?
You know what? I think I did put them in order, but I think there's 1 or 2 missing in that pile.
Well, there are several months missing. You have $1,000 in payments.
That's pretty accurate as to what I thought I'd owed her, being that I stopped paying, the last payment was in August, and I thought we were done at that time, and nothing is said until I get served this that I still owe her. And several months goes by, and she hasn't...
Well, let me ask you this question, Ms. Dodd. Let's say on the attorney's fees alone you owe a couple of $100.
Okay.
All right? Now, let's deal with the truck. What was the total purchase price of the truck?
I don't know the exact amount. I know what's owed.
How much was the truck?
It was approximately almost $10,000.
And how much is the loan?
Your Honor, I'm just telling you, I just paid $5,000 on it, and there's still $7,000 owed. So it was not $10,000 when she bought it.
That was the purchase price, but with the interest, it makes the price. It doesn't seem like it ever goes down.
Well, why are you sticking her with that obligation?
It's not that I'm sticking her with that
Yes, you are. You are.
Back in November, when I was released from work, I made the payment in November faithfully with what was my final check. In December, well, I had found out I was pregnant and taken off permanently for work, and then I decided to go on disability. I tried to make it.
Did you buy another vehicle?
We purchased another vehicle, yes.
Who's we?
My husband and I.
Well,
But that was done...
Just a second. How could you purchase another vehicle?
That was done before all of this even happened.
You're paying on another vehicle unless you
That was
paid
my
for...
responsibility. Yes, it was. I paid on that vehicle. We purchased another vehicle because my husband has a job, and he purchased another vehicle prior to all of this happening.
Miss Dodd, that's not fair.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Escobedo says former friend Mary Dodd owes for loans to buy a truck and to hire an attorney.
Now, what's not fair is you assumed another responsibility, you and your husband, knowing that you had a prior responsibility to her to pay for this older truck. What year vehicle did you purchase?
2004 Excursion.
So you purchased a brand new car, and what were your payments on the brand new car?
His payments are...
What are the payments?
His payments are $673.
What do you mean his payments? You don't live together?
Yeah, we live together. But
all right, $673. And what were your payments on this car?
$366. But I had no intention to give up the white truck. I intended to keep it, hopefully give it to my son when he finished high school. There was no intention to just say, here, I bought a new truck, I'm giving you this one back. That's not what I was going to do.
What did she say to you?
She called me the day they purchased the truck and told me she needed the account number or my social security number because they were going to trade the truck in. Then the next day she called me and said that they bought the truck anyways.
Just a second, they were going to trade the truck in.
Correct, but and then the next day she said they didn't trade it in. They purchased the truck, the Excursion, but they didn't trade it in because they only wanted to give her $4,000 on a trade-in because it's a hunk of junk now. And so they didn't want it, and they were still $12,000 owed. So they went and bought the truck anyways. Now they had, and when I asked her what she was going to do with the truck, the white truck, she said, we're going to have to make the payments on both. We don't have a choice.
And did she make payments on both the next month?
No.
I made the payment in November for that truck, and I paid the registration on that truck with the intent to keep the truck. Yeah, I did want to try to see if I could trade it in because I have a little car at home. But when they said no, well, you know, I wanted to get her name off of everything entitled with me.
Why didn't you do that?
They wouldn't give me what the truck was worth, and I thought, okay, I'll keep it. Why not? That's what my intention was.
So?
So I did. And I made the payment faithfully in November. I paid the registration on it.
And what happened in December?
I found out at the end of November that I was not going to be returning to work, and I had no income to pay. And I even attempted to sell it, and she wouldn't let me. She said she just couldn't do that right now because it was going to be taken over by a family member she knows that's very responsible. And you know, he would put it in his name, but to give him a couple weeks, and so she did, and I understand that. That was fine. I don't have a problem with that.
You're making a whole lot of double talk from you. Bottom line is, you didn't pay it. It's not her fault you got pregnant. It's not her fault you went on disability. It's not her fault that you and your husband decided to buy a more expensive new truck. It's not her fault. It's your fault. Stop making all of these sounds which suggests that somebody held you down when you became pregnant, that somebody held your hand to a piece of paper or his hand to a piece of paper when you bought a brand new Excursion truck. It's not somebody else's responsibility. It's yours.
My intentions were to keep the truck.
You could keep it, but you didn't pay for it in December.
Well, that's when everything took a turn. I was intending
just a second, what kind of turn?
I was intending to go back to work. In the end of January, I lost my baby, and a week later, I lost my mother. I wasn't ready to go back to work.
Is there just a second? Is it her fault you lost your baby?
No, it's not.
Is it her fault you lost your mother?
Not, but I can't.
Then why didn't you pay for the truck? Did you pay for the Excursion?
He pays for his Excursion.
You do live together, don't you?
Yeah, but he is entitled to own a vehicle as well.
She don't want to be a friend anymore.
Exactly.
It's a very good thing
exactly
because
what she said to me.
because she lacks reasonable moral fiber.
You're absolutely right, Your Honor.
She lacks a sense of duty and responsibility and what's right and what's wrong. Get out your address book. Erase her name.
Please do.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Now, this is case number 492 on the calendar, the matter of Underwood versus Burge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're the wife?
Yes, ma'am.
You're the girlfriend?
The ex-girlfriend.
You're the bargain? Don't see it. So something special that's just between you and you. Miss Underwood, according to your complaint, Mr. Burge and you were involved in a relationship. You didn't know that he was still married at the time.
Correct.
And you loaned him money. Loaned him money to do something called lifting his truck. I don't know what that means. You'll explain it to me in 10 seconds or less. Then you bailed out his car when it got impounded. What else?
2 tickets.
2 tickets. And you said you made loans to him because you actually thought that you were going to be building a life together based upon his promises and his statement that you were going to go to live in Arizona together and whatever. When you tried to find out when he was going to pay you, you went to his house and lo and behold, his wife answered the door.
Correct.
Mr. Burge said everything that you gave him that he acknowledges he took were given as gifts.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he never fooled you. You knew that he was married and that he had children because he has tattoos of them all over him.
Tattoos does not mean that he's still married or the fact that...
And he says he doesn't owe you a quarter. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long are you married, Mr. Burge?
Over 6 years.
You have children?
Yes, 4.
When did you leave your wife?
Around April, May.
And when did you meet Miss Underwood?
Right at the end of May.
Where?
Through an ad in the paper.
What kind of an ad?
It was like a penny saver ad.
What did it say? Shh, quiet!
It said, you know, this is who I am. And so I responded to it. You know, she sounded interesting.
Why, after 6 years of marriage and 4 children, you separated? In a couple of weeks, you felt the necessity to find somebody else?
It's just I like having someone around. I wasn't out to build a relationship. I was out to find a friend. And, you know, things were going good with us.
And when, for the first time, did she give you money?
It would be September 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
September 9th.
But I didn't give him anything.
Shh. Tell me what she gave you money for.
She did a lift on my truck.
Well, I don't know what that means. A lift for your truck means it's raised off the ground?
It raises it off the ground with bigger tires.
Why did you need that?
It was just something I wanted.
You have 4 children, so don't you think you should want to send them more money than raise your truck off the ground?
My children are well taken care of.
How much money did you earn?
Say again?
How much money did you earn?
I was making $15 an hour.
Oh, my God. A fortune. So what you're telling me is, on $15 an hour, you can support your 4 children and you.
My wife works also.
How old are your children?
Twin 9-year-olds, a 5-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old boy.
And who watches them when you're both working?
Daycare.
Who pays for the daycare?
We do.
Really? Your wife must be a very successful CEO of a major company.
No, she just works very hard for what she gets.
Harder than you.
We work equally.
Really? What kind of work do you do, Miss Burge?
I work for the phone company.
What's your annual salary?
54.
So you're the primary breadwinner in your family?
I make more an hour, yes.
Stand up. How many months were you separated from your husband?
Roughly about 6.
How much money did he send you for support during those 6 months?
We still live together, but we just stay.
Is what you're telling me, Miss Burge, that you still lived under the same roof while you were separated?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that, Miss Underwood?
No, I did not.
You think your husband told that to her?
I don't know.
Trust me. Did he tell you about Miss Underwood?
No, we didn't share personal stuff about each other.
No, only 4 children. Did you ask him where he got the money to have his truck lifted?
No, ma'am.
Let's see. Where did Mr. Burge tell you that he was living?
He said exactly where he was living.
Had you ever been there to visit him?
No, because he was always at my house.
How often was he at your house?
A couple times during the week, not for very long, but he came over a couple times during the week on Sundays, because Sunday was his only day off.
But you never went to his house until you were looking for him for the money?
Until New Year's Eve, correct.
Well, you weren't looking for him for the money New Year's Eve, you were just looking to find him?
I actually was just looking to find him because he told me that we would be together, and then his friends called and said that he was drunk and passed out, so they were taking him to their house. So I decided that enough was enough, and I wanted to go find out what was going on, and lo and behold, the wife and 4 kids answered the door.
Mr. Burge, did you tell Miss Underwood that you were still living at home with your wife?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Why not?
I didn't see it as relevant at the time. We were just friends.
Well, you were friends, you were intimate.
Yeah.
You had taken money from her.
Yeah.
You knew that she had feelings for you.
Yes.
Did you feel as if you were being honest with her?
Not completely, no.
Right. I think you got the better end of the deal.
I think so, too.
Unfortunately, she didn't find out about his character until they had 4 children together.
That's her problem.
That's her problem. And not only that,
she can have him. I don't want him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was okay for her to do this for him until she found out that we were still living together and he left her.
Because you got the prize. I want to tell you, my darling, you got the booby prize.
And later today...
Were you planning to get married?
Yes, we were going to be married September 17th, a week after he unfortunately passed away.
People invited to the wedding?
Yes.
Including his daughter?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tammy Underwood says ex-boyfriend Sean Burge owes for having his truck lifted and for impound fees. Tammy says Sean is living a double life.
Tell me about having the truck lifted.
He said that the weight of all the tools and stuff he used for work weighed the truck down too much, so if we did that, then it wouldn't be as much of a strain on the truck. And at that point, I'm agreeing that, you know, we're going to try and start a life. We had already talked about starting a life, and I told him, okay, I said, this is the deal. I have a credit card that just got paid off. We could do this, but you have to make the payments on it.
And he said?
He said, okay. He said that would not be a problem. He would be able to make the payments. So we...
Now let me hear your version of the truck, sir.
Your Honor, months or weeks before that, we were talking. My birthday was coming up in October, and she asked me, you know, what do you want for your birthday? Jokingly, I said, I'd like to get my truck lifted. I never made arrangements to pay anything back, because if I could afford to pay her back on it, I would have paid for it myself.
What was the next thing you paid off for him?
His truck got towed.
When did your truck get towed?
I don't remember the exact date.
And what did you do when you found out it was towed?
I called to her and asked her if she could get it out.
Why don't you call your wife?
I didn't choose to.
You can either have a happy life or an unhappy life. The choice is yours. Do you understand?
I understand.
Just because you make an initial mistake doesn't mean that you have to go through your whole life suffering for it. How much did it cost to have the truck lifted?
$32.50.
How much did it cost to get the car out of impound?
$318.
And now we have the tickets. What about the tickets? Did he ask you to pay those tickets?
Yes, he called me at work and said, can we afford for you to pay the tickets? And I said, there's no we. I can do it if you can make the payments. I said, you have to agree to make the payments.
How much were the tickets?
One was $606 and one was $446.
What do you want to say?
I want to mention that I just want to reflect back on something that she had said when she said that he used to come over quite frequently. He works Monday through Saturday, and he was only gone on a Sunday a few times that I can recall.
Well, what do you think that this phantom relationship that he had with Miss Underwood was?
I really don't know. I wasn't involved in it, but
right.
I
You
knew...
do know, however, that he solicited her friendship while the two of you were married and living under the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
That he asked her for help, according to him, right?
Right.
Or something that someone would say to a new friend. We're building something together. I need some help right now. Mm-hmm. Separated from my wife, whatever. We're divorced. I don't know. Did he say you separated or divorced?
No, said he was divorced for about 1.5 years.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
I understand that.
Do you believe her that that's what he said? I want you to believe her, Miss Burge.
Okay.
That's what he said.
May I mention another thing?
Sure.
The night that she showed up on our doorstep, she did mention to me that she had told him that he needs to put an effort toward the relationship or she was going to sue him for the money.
And your point would be?
You know, it was okay for her to do this for him until she found out that we were still living together and that he and I ended up going, you know, started working on a relationship and he left her.
Because you got the prize. Is that right? Because you got the prize? And she didn't. And she didn't. I want to tell you, my darling, you got the booby prize.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tammy Underwood says ex-boyfriend Sean Burge owes for having his truck lifted and for impound fees. Tammy says Sean is living a double life.
He's an unethical, amoral man who used her when it suited him. And he didn't even have the decency to say to her, I'm going back to my wife. I know you spent almost $5,000 on me. I'm going to pay you back, little by little, whatever it takes, because I don't want you to feel as if you've been abused by me. Do you understand? That would have been a decent human being. Instead, he says, see ya. You feel like a fool? You were a fool? I'm going back to my wife with my new lifted truck. And if that's the kind of character you want your children to grow up around, stick with them. You will reap what you sow. The next fool will be you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,620. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Party Judge Hughes, you may step out.
We started building a life together. He said he loved me, and I never knew about the wife until New Year's Eve.
I didn't lie to her about anything. I might not have told her things, but I didn't lie to her.
We had all kinds of plans. It wasn't just like a month, okay, boom, done, you know.
It just didn't work between me and her.
Christmas, you know, he promised my son he would be there, and all of a sudden didn't show.
Mistress is a mistress, you know. You end up coming out with everything or you come out with nothing.
It really hurt, because I was in love with him, so, but she can have him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fitzgerald versus Whitney. Step forward, please.
23-year-old homemaker Kimberly Fitzgerald is suing her deceased father's fiancée, Leslie Whitney, for the return of her father's belongings. Kimberly says Leslie is a scammer.
Miss Fitzgerald, Miss Whitney and your father were together at the time that he died, and he died suddenly. He was a young man. He had a heart attack. And you want some property that you say belonged to your father. You're one of 2 children. You say your brother doesn't want anything of your father's. You do. He died without a will. And according to you, Miss Whitney won't let you have his belongings. Right?
Yep.
When did your father have a heart attack? Do you know the date?
September 9th, 2004.
And prior to September 9th, when had you seen him?
I saw him about 3 days earlier.
Where?
He stopped by my house to see my son. Well, and me.
Prior to September the 6th, when your father came to see your son, when had you previously seen him?
The 4th of July.
How old was your father?
57.
Miss Whitney, how long had you and Vincent been together?
Over a year we were together, but we did not live together until June of last year.
He had another girlfriend in March.
Shh. You moved into his house?
Yes.
Where was he when he passed away?
He was on the road. He was a truck driver.
According to what I read, Vincent took out a life insurance policy with you as the beneficiary. Is
Yes.
that right? When did he do that?
In August.
Were you planning to get married?
Yes, we were going to be married September 17th, a week after he unfortunately passed away.
People invited to the wedding?
Yes.
Including his daughter?
No.
Why not?
He said that he didn't want, there wasn't a close-knit family, and that's what he had told me. I had never met her, and he offered to, when he wanted to go see his grandchild and stuff, but it was like an in-and-out thing. He never really talked about his children.
How much was the life insurance policy that he took out in August?
$20,000.
But he named you as the beneficiary?
Yes.
Is there any other life insurance policy for any of his children?
No, there was not.
Did he have any bank accounts?
Yes, he did, but one was overdrawn, and the other one only had about $50 in it.
Now, I gather the day after your father died, you and your mother
Yes.
went to his apartment.
Yes. I didn't even know about her.
And how did you get into his apartment?
I was sitting outside. I didn't go into the apartment until Leslie came home.
How did your mother get into the apartment?
I don't know.
How did they get into the apartment?
They climbed through the kitchen window. It was a basement apartment. The windows were level with the ground. And I was on my way back from the hospital, and I came home, and she was outside with the baby, and the mother was in in the bedroom.
What was your mother doing there?
She told me to wait outside. We had gone to my father's house to get his suit so that he could be buried. We were making preparations for his wake, and there was other paperwork and stuff that I needed. Since I am the administrator of my father's estate, I needed to get paperwork to straighten
Well, you
everything
weren't
out.
the administrator of his estate at that time because he died without a will.
No, at that
so
time I was not.
you had to petition the court for letters of administration.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Now, according to Miss Whitney, she ultimately allowed you to come in and take certain property from the apartment.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to tell me what it is that you want.
We just want...
Who's we?
Well, okay, I just want the value of the property that was missing that Leslie told me I could have.
What do you want? Not the value. What do you want?
The kitchen table, the computer, the camera with the printer.
Kitchen table?
No, there's no kitchen table.
There's no kitchen table.
I moved
What else?
into the house myself.
What year?
Beginning of end of 2003.
Get over it. What else?
The computer. There was a brand new computer.
Where's the computer?
There was no computer. There was no computer. There's no kitchen table.
Okay. You have no idea where the computer is?
No, I don't.
What's next?
The digital camera.
Digital camera.
No, I don't. He had that. He used to carry that with him in his truck, and I didn't
What's
go
next?
to the truck.
The printer that went with the digital camera.
Miss Fitzgerald, get over it. From what I gather, based upon the fact that your father had taken out a life insurance policy and instead of naming his 2 children as beneficiaries, he named this lady as a beneficiary of his insurance policy, you did not enjoy with your father the kind of relationship that was warm, continuous, and loving. Is that a fair statement? Realized that she was living there and that they were living together. They planned to be married. They clearly were in a monogamous, intimate relationship because the life insurance policy was taken out in August. You got a lot of your father's property. Nothing there, as far as I'm concerned, are memento things that you're asking for. You don't want to hang the kitchen table on your charm bracelet or the camcorder or anything else.
No, but there was family pictures.
If you said to me he had a watch that I would like to be able to give to my child one day because we were very close, or he had a ring that was a family heirloom or something that was very close to him, you want a kitchen table, a computer, a camera, and a printer.
And pictures.
Should have taken pictures. What pictures?
I didn't have access to them.
You went into the house 3 times. You didn't even mention the pictures, Miss Fitzgerald, when you said you wanted the value of these things or the things. You didn't even mention pictures. I think you have to have something to occupy your time more than what you have. Because this is nonsense. Get over it. Get a life. That's all.
Funeral.
Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Mến chào tất cả các em, chào mừng các em đến với bài học mới của chúng ta ngày hôm nay nhé. Ở video mới này chúng ta sẽ giải quyết một bài toán khá là khó, và nếu như mới đọc đề thì chúng ta sẽ thấy là nó khá là phức tạp. Một cửa hàng bán kem trong 3 ngày bán được 1.435 cái. Ở đây chúng ta thấy ngày thứ nhất thì bán gấp đôi ngày thứ hai, và ngày thứ hai thì bán được chỉ bằng 1/4 của ngày thứ ba thôi. Tức là ngày thứ ba bán khả năng là nhiều nhất đấy. Và ở đây chúng ta sẽ thấy này, chúng ta sẽ dựa vào cái phần của từng ngày bán này chúng ta sẽ vẽ, đúng không? Tại vì chúng ta sẽ vẽ sơ đồ với ngày 2 gấp đôi ngày nhất, và bằng 1/4 ngày 3 thì chúng ta sẽ vẽ được ngày thứ nhất, ngày thứ hai và ngày thứ ba đấy. Ngày thứ nhất chúng ta gấp đôi thì chúng ta sẽ vẽ là 2 đơn vị, và ngày thứ ba 2 chúng ta sẽ chỉ bằng 1/2 của ngày thứ nhất thôi, và ngày thứ ba sẽ gấp 4 lần. Tại vì ngày thứ hai bằng 1/4 thì chúng ta sẽ được tổng ở đấy là 1.435 cái kem. Đúng ạ. Ở đây chúng ta sẽ tính được là số phân bằng nhau. Vậy thì ở đây chúng ta sẽ giải là số phân bằng nhau sẽ là 2 cộng 1 cộng cho 4 bằng 7 phần. Đúng ạ. 7 phần và số 2 thì sẽ chiếm chỉ có 1 phần thôi. Vậy thì số 2 ở đây sẽ là ngày 2 bán được. Ngày 2 bán được số kém sẽ là 1.435 chia cho 7 sẽ bằng 14 chia 7 là được 200 mấy 35 chia 7 là 5, 205 cái kém. Từ đấy chúng ta sẽ tính được ngày 1, đúng không nào? Ngày 1 sẽ là 205 nhân cho 2 và sẽ bằng 410 cái. Và ngày 3 chúng ta sẽ kiếm được sẽ là 205 nhân cho 4 hoặc là 1.435, chúng ta trừ đi 410 và trừ đi 205, đúng không ạ? Hai kết quả này đều cho kết quả là 205 nhân 4 là thành cũng bằng 410 nhân 2 sẽ là 820 cái. Đây là số kem bán được trong 3 ngày. Ngày thứ nhất sẽ là 410, ngày thứ hai sẽ là bằng 1/2 thì sẽ là 205 cái, và ngày thứ ba là 820 cái nhé.